everybody, to the Roundtable Podcast for March 31st, 2017. I'm BaerTaffy, joined by RockLeeSmile, Northernlion, and joining us, another honorable member of the Roundtable, it's Sinvicta. Welcome back, man.
Hello, thanks for having me back. Good to be here again.
As you could all clearly see, Mathis Games unfortunately could not join us today. A little busy down in Cali, enjoying the sun.
What the heck is he doing? He was like
What is he
playing
doing?
DJ stuff.
He's playing Master X Master, the new MOBA from NCSoft.
I know he's got an important role. He is out there playing amongst the pros, so he's got to find his niche, right? He's got to find where he's useful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got Dyrus there. He's got 4 Strategy Gaming. I mean, what could go wrong?
The legendary team, man.
Yeah. Yeah, they're going to the next Champions of Fire tournament next year.
Not if I got anything to say about it.
Mark it on the calendar.
You got a little pull in that department now. You got some.
I mean, I'm not assuming I have pull, but I think I made a good impression. I would love to have a chance to go back and prove myself.
Sure. I'm glad you
by
slipped
not
into
rolling balloons in every single round that I played, if possible.
I was gonna say you slipped into esports athlete press interview mode there for a second. You're like, well, I mean, it was great to be here. Really enjoyed the competition. Hope we can be back next year and have a fiery, spirit-filled adventure yet again.
Agreed.
Yeah, we got a lot to talk about today. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Hearthstone's Journey to Ungoro just announced for the April 6th release date. All 135 new cards being brought to the game have now been revealed. We'll talk a little bit about that. Destiny 2 officially announced, also coming to the PC. Big news. StarCraft Remaster also announced this week, the HD remake of the original. Was that 1998?
Brood War was 1998.
Right. Okay. StarCraft proper was what, 96?
StarCraft was also 1998.
What? So I was right.
Yeah, you were right.
It
just took me a while to Google it.
All right. Well, there we go. StarCraft Remastered is coming around nearly 20 years later. Also, Heroes of the Storm 2.0. Big update for that as well. Blizzard is making waves here. GameStop is going to be closing about 150 stores in 2017. We'll be talking about what that means for them moving forward, along with Mad Katz declaring bankruptcy, which I wanted to say finally, but that's really mean, so I didn't say that word. It's just poor Mad Katz.
Except you did.
Yeah.
I
wanted to say it. I didn't say it, though.
Yeah.
For Honor players are also a little upset. They're planning a day-long boycott. We'll talk about why. And then Darkest Dungeons, new DLC, The Crimson Court, just got a whole bunch of details released a few hours ago as well, so I want to note that, along with Meganoid and Snake Pass on the show today. Starting off, though, well, I do want to start off by saying me and Sin had a very enjoyable, nearly romantic time in PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, the ultimate combat life and death experience last night.
I mean, it was beautiful. We had a couple beers. We threw out a couple fishing lines. Just shot the shit for a while. It was great. It was the most relaxing.
Y'all ever get that like ideal circle? You're already on the southern island, right? And then it just shows up. We got the entire river encompassed. You just got to grab a boat, float yourself on out there. You're good to go. We sat in silence for like 5 minutes. It was lovely.
We were top 25. It was great.
Yeah.
One time we got a boat. And then Austin jumped in the driver's seat, but he needed to heal or the gas was going to kill him. So we popped painkillers, and then we all got shot in the head, except for me and Mel. And then we got a boat each, and then we boat jousted.
Nice. I haven't done that yet.
It was a relatively good time.
Boat jousted.
It's provided some good times, man. I'm surprised, actually, by how much I'm enjoying it. Nick, you even like it. Okay. That's about as good as I can expect, I guess.
Yeah, I'm not into that style of game, and it doesn't seem to be all that much better than the other ones, but this is the one everyone's playing right now, so.
Come now. Market improvements. Noticeable improvements. They've done good.
Where? It's still choppy as shit, and nothing works.
Nothing works.
That's there. You were trying to get in the boat. You couldn't get in the boat, remember?
It takes a couple of presses of F.
Yeah, entering the vehicles needs work. And
excuse me, streamer, it's why they call it early access, okay?
Okay, but
you need to use some patience.
Right.
The melee is actually...
Nothing works, I'm exaggerating.
The melee is like still comically bad, so there is that. But
did you know that if you catch someone right in the dome piece with a jumping punch, you can knock them out in one hit?
Really?
You know what? You know what? I don't even need to hear about anything like that. I had no idea the Krendor was going to be there. Look,
I saw that.
I screwed up. I should have never told those two idiots about the lumber mill. I should never have told them that. Me and Mathis should have just been us, and just period, point blank. Nobody knows about it. We would be kings of the world. He wouldn't have to go to LA for 2 days. Battleground. Instead, I had to tell Krendor and Gmart, hey, by the way, this is where you go to get stacked. And then we run into Krendor, who blindsides me while I'm looking at picking up a helmet. I'm trying to say screw Krendor.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely the message here, clear as crystal. Let's talk about Hearthstone for a little bit. Journey to Ungoro. I believe we've touched on this in a couple of episodes recently, but we've got a whole bunch of new information now. Coming around on April 6th. And this morning's live stream revealed the rest of the cards, I believe. The biggest change, of course, with the newest expansion is going to be those quest cards, which are totally insane. The most noteworthy one for me, the one that stands out the most at least, is the Warlock one. I think is the one where it creates a portal that just keeps spawning stuff. And like these cards are crazy. You get anything from the Priest one, which is it's like an 8/8 creature with a battle cry of set your hero's health to 40. Like there are some insane perks associated with these quest cards. Have you read about the quest cards yet? It's nuts, man.
I haven't paid attention to Hearthstone in a couple months.
So this is the new hotness here. So the quest cards, if you put a quest card in your deck, it automatically starts in your starting hand, and it costs 1. So you play it right out of the gate, and it shows up on your portrait for the entire game. So it's just something that you're trying to do. So I believe one of them, I think the Shaman one is something like play 9 Murlocs or something like that. So it's got pretty high expectations for you, but then the payoff is massive because if you do that Murloc one, you get some sort of, I think it's called Mega Fin. It's just some massive beefy Murloc with a whole bunch of benefits. So it's really cool. I think it's a really interesting new mechanic that they added in here. Could certainly make for some interesting deck compositions, although certainly some obvious ones too. I think once the quest is coming out, you're gonna know more or less what your opponent is doing.
Yeah.
And probably like 2 weeks after release, there's gonna be 4 decks played on the ladder. So
well, one would hope not, but yeah.
I think I just kind of fell out of favor, or I lost my Hearthstone fervor when the meta just became stale and you had to like self-police in order to have the most fun. You're like, well, I could play Pirate Warrior and win like 62% of my games up to a certain point, or I could like play cards that have some variety, but then my win rate's probably only going to be like, maybe under 50, and it's kind of like every game became exactly the same. The meta became particularly stale, I thought, after Mean Streets of Gadgetzan.
I'm hoping that the quest thing may help to alleviate that issue a little bit. They also have a couple of new that's my best Price is Right failure noise.
Yes.
I like it.
You got it? Okay.
Sad trombone. I liked it.
I think
We interrupt this MXM tournament to bring you a podcast.
Oh no.
Brought to you by Madrina's Coffee.
I'm really glad that it's at least auto-hosting to Mathis, so we have a little bit of a backup plan, a contingency plan today.
There we go.
Goodness. All right, we're back. Good. Hey, sorry about that, everybody. Connection's dropping. American ISPs. Whoopee!
Yeehaw!
Good stuff. Super reliable. We were Hearthstoning.
Yeah.
All as a group together. It was so fun. Journey to Ungoro. It's got that, so I was talking about the Adapt feature, which I think is pretty cool. It's got 10 different options that you can choose from when you play the Adapt. So there's also, I believe I think it's the Paladin quest reward, is you play a creature that can adapt 5 times with a battle cry. So you can just make this ridiculously buffed monstrosity that has Divine Shield, +3 attack, all this nonsense. So it's kind of cool. I like that new feature as well. I think of course, the more new things like that they add, the tougher it becomes to balance, and then there's probably going to inherently be a few more weird OP things that slip through the cracks. But I think people may be more excited about that than just the possibility of the meta staying more or less the same right now anyway.
It'll be the same eventually, though. I
True.
mean, people will learn how they'll net deck and just they'll pick apart like the best like minions to pair with the best quests for the best class, and then after that it's just going to be Pirate Warrior all over again.
Yeah.
What is
It'll probably
net
actually still be net decking is when you go to like a website like Hearthstone or
you make a
Storm.
pre-designed.
Okay. Yes.
Well, yeah. You basically copy someone's deck that they run in a tournament or whatever the new hotness is on ladder right now. I mean, that's the name of the game when it comes to Hearthstone, and really any competitive game, in my opinion. It's eventually there's the cream of the crop stand out above the rest, and Hearthstone just happens to be happening at an accelerated rate.
Yeah.
Just because of how many players are playing the damn game and everything like that. So
the thing is, like, you never want to lose. Like, eventually you reach this equilibrium where you're like, I would much rather win than have the satisfaction of, like, making something myself. And you're right, that's what kills, like, the competitive aspect for a lot of people, myself included.
I can't tell you how many times I really tried hard, because I love mill decks, and I wanted to make Rogue Mill work so much, and just dropping like 7-8 games before finally winning one is like, I think I'm actually having more fun just playing a standard priest or pirate deck and winning rather than actually having fun, or at least trying to have fun.
Yeah.
So that's the balance for me, and eventually I just stopped playing the game.
I remember when...
Sorry, you want to go? Go ahead.
I remember when we were briefly talking about Gwent, which is still around, still kicking. But we talked about how there really is not any sort of reward. Not that there should be a reward, but there's no real benefit to losing at all. Like, zero. You play an entire game and you lose that game of Gwent and you get absolutely nothing out of it. Hearthstone at least will give you like a little bit of experience, and then you can also make progress toward those daily quest rewards, which I think Gwent could benefit from if it hasn't already added those. Yeah,
apparently they have reworked it so it's like one of the more generous free-to-play
oh, really?
Card games right now. Yeah. It's plausible to grind up like most of the legendaries, if I remember correctly, while still losing. But it was like at launch, I thought it was pretty bad for it. Or at beta launch.
But I mostly make that point to say that at least Hearthstone, I feel, does have a decent enough benefit to just playing. You know, like there's enough there to kind of hold you to the game without having to win every single match.
I agree with that, but to what end, I guess, is the point. Like,
sure,
they do give you gold for completing the dailies, and not all of the dailies are about winning. And even some of the ones that are about winning, you can do in like the Tavern Brawl, which is usually a coin flip, depending on what the Tavern Brawl is.
Yeah.
But in the end, like, you want those gold or that gold to buy cards or craft cards that you can actually use to make like a solid net deck, I think. Like, otherwise you're just getting gold for gold's sake. But eventually you're probably going to use those to crack packs or to, I mean, previously buy adventures, I guess, although those don't exist anymore. But
rip.
Yeah, I feel, I don't know, I don't think it's Hearthstone's fault necessarily. I think the ideal time to get into a TCG is like before everybody else does, so that you can have that great moment before it hits that Mass Effect where everybody becomes super tryhard and just tries to win. So I mean, some people are into that, and that's fine. As far as I'm concerned, the same thing happens in Magic too. Like, everybody net decks at a certain level in Magic, and you know, you're playing the same like 5 or 6 decks in Standard all the time, or at least you were last year.
The best time to play Hearthstone was during the beta release, when nobody but the streamers could play Hearthstone.
Yeah, everybody's playing like Tauren Warriors and like.
Oh yeah, man! The unnerfed Defender of Argus.
Yeah.
That char was an absolute hoss.
What would that?
Like
what
Shield Bearer.
Yeah, Shield Bearer too. But the most OP unit was the Twilight Drake, man. He gained attack and HP based on how many cards you had. Oh yeah, it was great.
Jeez, what was Defender of Argus before what he is now? He's already pretty strong.
It used to be a 3/4 that gave 2/2.
Jesus,
it was on a 2/2 or 1/1, but it used to be a 3/4.
That's insane.
Yeah, my non-Hearthstone question, but TCG related. Did you guys ever try Faria, or have you tried it yet?
I've heard good things.
Not yet.
Good. It's good. If you, I don't know if any of y'all played Scrolls, but Faria has the best parts of Hearthstone mixed with the best parts of Scrolls. And there's also, you can tell there's a lot of Magic the Gathering influence. I mean, any TCG is going to have that, but as opposed to another game that I was pretty impressed with at the time, which was Infinity Wars, Faria actually, I'm really digging it because it takes the whole strategical placement of where you put your units and cards, and on top of that, you can control where you summon land, where you can possibly set up another play to like a flank or something like that. It's a surprisingly good game. If anyone out there liked Scrolls, this has the best parts of Scrolls that I loved about that game. Plus it's easy enough to understand like Hearthstone, but the depth is there for Magic as well. So
yeah,
I give it a recommendation.
Cool, right on.
Do you guys think there's like an inherent sort of dissonance in the game design idea of CCGs like this, where essentially your main idea is to try and get the most efficient deck that wins as often as possible, and after a little while you start to learn from the group think of the internet that there are like 3 to 5 solutions of the best way to do that. Yet the game tries to encourage you to make custom decks that have new and interesting strategies. However, those things all go by the wayside after maybe 2 months of play, and then you end up with everyone trying to create the same situation. So why even have customization in the first place?
I really I feel this may just be wishful thinking on my part, but I just refuse to believe that there really is a solution. Like, they haven't tried everything, like especially now with this expansion is going to add a whole different archetype to things. Like, I truly believe that there are just decks out there that people don't want to go through the trouble of putting together that could probably disrupt the meta if the incentive was there,
Well, but the problem is, like, I agree to some extent, but because of the fact that there's usually like 3 or 4 decks that are at like some level of critical mass, if Pirate Warrior is like particularly annoying, you can build like an anti-Pirate Warrior deck, but then it's the luck of the draw. Like if you queue into like, Jade Druid or whatever is big right now that's not Pirate Warrior, it might just shit on it. So it's possible to like tech in order to like counterpick, but then you got to get extremely lucky with the things you actually queue into.
What's really funny about that is that it makes this a really, really complicated version of Pokemon. It's just like rock, paper, scissors with like way too much extra shit at the end.
Yeah,
And I don't think that to be dismissive either. It's kind of funny from a game design perspective how that reduces from one end to the other is all.
Sure.
The other thing is that it needs like a... They've been talking about this for a long time, but as far as I'm concerned, it needs like a ladder redesign because it's just so beneficial to play fast decks. Like you can play... Reno Mage was big for a while, and it's really fun to play because it's one copy of every card, and you have like, there's decisions to make, and whenever you're thinking of a draw, you're not like, oh, I have 4 outs. You're actually like, I have like 11 outs that I could manufacture here somehow. The problem is that every single game took like 25 minutes to play, and if you're a Pirate Warrior, in 25 minutes you racked up like 4 or 5 wins, so you're just like lapping people on the leaderboards. Right. And as far as I'm concerned, I would love for them to make it like just almost like self-contained like tournaments or something like that. Like when you go to Friday Night Magic, I know that this is what Arena is as well, but when you go to Friday Night Magic, you can run an aggro deck, but if you win in 15 minutes, you're sitting around for 35 minutes, waiting for the rest of the games to end because they go to time. So there's no inherent advantage to just playing as fast as possible. But anyway, we're getting into like deep cut Hearthstone complaints here, probably.
Well, I mean, just to be fair, though, it's almost unrealistic to expect Blizzard to know, or any TCG designer to expect how a meta is going to be shaped based on the cards that they make. They probably design with an overarching theme for the classes and the general theme for whatever expansion they're on. But I don't think inherently, I don't think that it's fair to blame the designers of it just because the meta boils down to 3 or 4, decks.
I'm not even blaming. I'm not blaming anybody. I'm just talking about the kind of the game design implications, and I don't think there is a solution that makes sense and still squares away with the concept behind CCGs.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's done it right in the way that I'm proposing.
Every time you play a legendary, it gets deleted from your inventory.
There you go,
you only get to play a legendary card once.
Breath of the Wild style, man. You got to make those consumable.
Cards have... Oh, dude, that would be... If you want to see the true wrath of the gaming community, make a TCG where cards have durability and then are permanently deleted from your inventory. That would be so good.
You'd immediately create so much value if that game became popular. Like, you would have all these accounts that were selling for millions of dollars because they have the one card that will only last for one use.
Or like somebody drops, it would be like meta Gwent. Somebody drops like a really high value card against you and you just scoop. You're like, I'm not spending any resources to win this one. I'm out. You win.
Dude, that's Blizzard's next Hearthstone April Fool's event.
Oh,
right there.
That makes me angry and I don't even want to play it.
I think we even did this last year, but fucking the news cycle the weekend of April Fools, man. I do not like it. I don't like it anymore. I'm done.
It's coming tomorrow.
Yeah. Fucking, we had to deal with, I saw one today that was NVIDIA's new AI auto control system that they're launching, supposedly, which is just a flash drive that you plug in to play your game for you while you go get pizza from the door.
Dude, I hate that April Fool's creep. Like, now we've got, because it's Friday, you have to, like, April Fool's is on Saturday, so if you run a business, you're like, gotta get that April Fool's post out today because I'm not gonna be in the office tomorrow.
The window keeps fucking expanding, dude. It's like we have to be wary of it when it's March 26th or something. It's ridiculous.
This is the internet equivalent of putting your Christmas decorations out in July.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I
Well,
want to point that
I don't
out.
want to politicize, but like we kind of have to be wary of this at all times of the year now.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, here we go. All right.
No, that's all I want to say. Is that.
But can you imagine, like, April Fool's is the silliest holiday of all time. You're like, it's just for fun. It's just, but then, like, a week ago, NVIDIA's in its, like, probably not a boardroom, but, like, you know, the communications department is like, hey, we really got to get this April Fool's idea, like, in gear because we're not going to be in the office on Saturday. We got to publish this on Friday. We have deadlines. If April Fool's falls on a Saturday, you cannot make an April Fool's joke on Friday and be like, that's okay. You can throw an office Halloween party on a Friday if the Halloween day is on Saturday. That's fine. You can't just ignore the day. But it has to be on that day.
As a business, if it falls on a business day, you just have to accept that you forfeit this year's April Fools.
The whole point of it is that there's one contained period where it's okay to make things up. If you go, oh, well, we're going to take that credit and put it, why not put it on April 3rd, you know, the Monday after April Fool's Day?
No one's expecting that. And the thing
now
is,
we got
too,
4 days of not being able to trust. And it would, the other thing that gets me is like, the April Fool's shit is also always like, hey, we invented a rocket that's going to Mars tomorrow. And then like an hour later, they're like, just kidding.
Yeah. There's the SpaceX tweet that we just spoiled for you. Sorry about that.
I guarantee Elon Musk will not make an April Fool's Day joke.
Oh, I want to take the odds on that. I'll take.
He doesn't strike me as that kind of guy.
No. Let's see. All right.
I think he would worry about that setting back human progress by even a single increment.
$10 on Elon Musk making a Twitter April Fool's joke tomorrow. I got you there.
Okay. I'll even make it more generous and say like SpaceX in general. I don't think will make I would take that bet.
Okay.
Is gambling legal on Twitch?
I think so.
Sure. Okay.
We're gambling.
$10.
I think so.
We're gambling. He went with it.
Just wait till corporations start to figure out how to monetize April Fools. Then every corporate office in the world has a Friday Fools event. But we're just putting out just fake stuff all over the place.
They monetize the articles that get clicks.
Hey, it's already started.
Yeah.
Somebody alert the press. Oh wait, we can't do that. It's all fake.
Oh man.
Hi-oh.
Circular. Okay.
Yeah.
Here we go. We got news. We got things to talk about. Here we go. This is real news. This is not a fool. Destiny 2 officially revealed. Confirmed for the PC. It's happening, ladies and gentlemen.
Would you call Destiny 2 Destiny's Child?
Before you even said the second word, it was like he saw it in your lips.
I saw it on Twitter.
Oh, all right.
Oh, I didn't even see it on Twitter. I thought I was being original.
It's the Life board game tweet all over again.
Destiny
Damn
2.
it.
Destiny 2
All
is
right,
here.
go ahead. I'll be quiet.
The reveal trailer just came out yesterday. Actually confirmed for the PC. Believe it or not, it's happening, boys and girls. They've made the jump. I am okay. So, Sin, did you play some Destiny? I think you did, right?
Nope.
No.
Nope,
Okay.
I never did. I wanted to though. I just didn't own a console.
So, Destiny, of course, does have some baggage coming along with it. From the official release on, I think they've substantially improved over time, but folks were a little distraught with the initial offering. I think Destiny 2 is going to be learning quite a bit from the info they've gathered over the last few years. I'm a big believer in Bungie, to be honest with you.
Yeah, for some reason.
Yeah, it's something about them. I don't know what it is, but they got my number.
Hashtag not sponsored.
As I understand it, though, that game, like I watched Kate play it for like maybe 6 hours on launch, and I was like, it's kind of like a like a worse or at least less enjoyable Borderlands with a much larger scope. And then I heard that it got a lot better through the expansions. And it sort of became like an evergreen MMO that you could basically just log on and spend like a few hours in every night and feel like you were making progress and like Diablo basically, but with sci-fi and guns.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I recognize that sort of gameplay loop really does not matter to me at all, and this is probably not going to necessarily be my cup of tea, but I think it's cool that it's finally coming out on PC.
Yeah.
And I think, without getting too inside baseball, it's going to be enormous on Twitch. Like, right now, there are some Destiny streamers, and some of them are quite big, but I think this is going to teleport it, like, or vault it to the next level to potentially be one of the biggest games on Twitch.
Think back to that, what was it? I think September 2014. That was like everybody was buying in. You saw probably 80% of your following list was playing Destiny that day. It was crazy. And
it's so weird. Like, people loved it, then hated it, then sort of started to love it again, and I don't know where we're at anymore with this game.
I can't wait to play it. I mean, I and to this day, I still think that Warframe has the best combat system of any game that I've ever played. And I'm interested to see how Warframe decides to try to maybe even just step aside for Destiny 2, because, I mean, everyone's going to go – I'm going to go over to that. And I played Warframe for a while. I'm excited. I mean, I've been looking for a new type of MMO to come out. It's actually for PC, not for console. And, you know, Destiny's always looked pretty cool. I mean, I've even looked at like a couple of Destiny streamers whenever the expansion that had like the Returned King or something like
Taken
that.
King,
Taken King,
yeah, like that. Like Destiny was number 1 on Twitch that day, and I was like, "What the heck is going on?" And I just watched a random streamer for like an hour. I'm like, I wish this screams to be on PC. Like, it's not on PC.
it was.
We're gonna squad up. I mean, I'll be a Destiny streamer if you guys want to.
Yeah, I'm there.
I think it seems like the kind of thing. I think I would play that about as much as I played Overwatch if it ends up being like even close to as good as Destiny 1.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I didn't love Destiny, but I also just appreciate that style of gameplay. So it's like, even though I didn't find it incredibly fun, I'd still like to play it with other people. And I never got my Borderlands fix still to this day.
You know what I do like about Destiny is that sometimes when I see people playing it, they have a calculator open and they're like running loot into the calculator to see how it's going to affect their DPS and like drop rate. And I'm like, all right, I'm okay with that.
Dude, when I get my visor, my Goldman visor, I'm going to hook it up with a sensor. So when I wear it and play Destiny, it can scan all the loot ahead of me.
Oh, there you go.
And then I can see my drop rates and shit.
Man, you're fucking with me, but that sounds awesome. That sounds
I know.
dope.
I'm not fucking with you. I want that. Somebody get a Raspberry Pi and like.
I was actually just thinking that like one of the most popular DIY projects with the Raspberry Pi is like this magic mirror thing that shows you on your mirror you put like the weather and news for that day and when the buses are showing up and stuff like that. I don't know. It would probably be like infinity dollars to do it on a thin piece of curved plastic, but it's a start actually.
Something for the future. Ask Elon Musk to work on it.
We'll see what the news is like tomorrow.
I mean, Warframe multiplayer was amazing. Like when it was me, Mathis, Force, Strategy Gaming, and TB. It was just like 3 hours of doing the same thing over and over again. But the combat that keeps you in the gameplay loop was so enjoyable. We just didn't care. It was just like, we're getting crappy drops right now, but just slaughtering everything in sight.
Yeah.
And having it fast paced, no lag at all. What they've done with Warframe is really quite impressive. I'm still impressed with that game.
Tell me more about Warframe. I've never really become that familiar with it.
I'm really not that educated in it, but it's basically it's sort of like Destiny. I mean, I know that you played Destiny before, so it's sort of like that, except it's a lot more instance based. If you probably never played Vindictus, but really just think of it as like it's if you're playing a bunch of WoW dungeons, except in sort of like a Destiny robotic sort of suit.
Okay.
And later on, all the free expansions that came out, that actually the biggest one is, I believe, is called the Second Dream or something like that, which I still haven't done after all these years, but. It's very much you go to this planet. Are you looking for crafting ingredients? Are you looking for a new weapon? Are you looking for new parts to make a new frame or whatever? It's impressive for a free to play game. I mean, it's incredible, and I still stand by my claim as is the most enjoyable, best combat system I've ever played. I mean, it's better than Vindictus in my opinion. It's up there.
Damn.
It's number one for me. I mean, it's quite impressive. We're playing.
I think that's why I hated Diablo 3 at launch, because I played as the monk, and you're like, the loot is supposed to be the treadmill that keeps you in, but the actual gameplay was literally just clicking on a dude, and then your monk goes and just punches the shit out of him and has like a 10% chance to dodge any incoming strike, and then you get lifesteal on your attacks, and it's like, there's a dude, click on him. There's a dude, click on him.
You would have liked the wizard better because you could shoot a laser out of you. That's pretty fun.
I am into that.
I was definitely into Destiny for a little while there. I didn't play it on launch, weirdly enough. I actually waited a little while. I think it was maybe even like a year beyond launch until I picked it up, which might have benefited me. Maybe that was a better time to hop in. So
I played it on launch. I feel like a sucker now.
Mr. RockLeeSmile over there playing Destiny on launch and buying the Oculus Rift. Staying ahead of the consumer curve, right?
I make all the good decisions, don't I? You should just do the opposite of whatever I do. You'll have a better time.
Yeah, I'm absolutely going to play this. I'm looking forward to it.
I'm all over it.
Roundtable plays Destiny 2, coming to a Twitch stream near you.
Let's just not do the podcast anymore. Let's just play Destiny. It's that good. We already know it's that good.
I have PS4 now, so I can actually play it if I really wanted to.
Did they announce a date for Destiny 2?
We got September 8th.
September 8th, yeah.
That's pretty soon.
Yeah.
It's like almost like half a year, but yeah.
Yo, but like, I mean, it's soon for a like $1 billion project.
You really just...
It's like building a bridge in like a year. It's fast-ish.
6 months.
I hadn't heard anything about Destiny 2 basically until 2 days ago.
Watch out for that heat death of the universe.
I'm just saying 6 months is a short time span, man.
2 days ago. We knew about Destiny 2 for months. It was just until they decided that they wanted to announce it existed that it was
call me when it's out on PC.
Yeah, that's right.
Do we know if there's like new classes or the classes got any better in Destiny?
What we do know for sure is that none of the weapons or gear are going to carry over, but your characters can. So the classes from the previous game, I assume, are going to be transferring over, and then there may be new classes. I'm not 100% sure, but we'll see.
Yeah, I don't want them to transfer over because I don't have anything worth talking about on the original one.
Yeah,
I don't
like a level 20.
I wonder if they're going to get to do get Peter Dinklage to do whatever the.
No, they kicked him out of the original.
Yeah, dude, he wasn't good. He wasn't gotten it.
I thought that they sent it back for him to do a better reading of everything. I didn't know that they actually removed him. I have no idea. That's what I heard.
It's okay, man.
Yeah, you know, I don't
we're gonna get you.
I'm sorry. Take it. Just take everything. I don't want it. I don't want it. You can keep it.
What I do know is that they are doubling down on Nathan Fillion for this run, at least based on the trailers. They are really enjoying his Cade 6 performance, and so am I. So I'm fine with more of that. He's hilarious. But yeah, that's more or less what we've got so far. No gear or weapon carryover. September 8th release date coming out on PS4, Xbox One, and PC.
Chat's like, get him.
That's the only reason we do this show, is just for those gotcha moments, man, so we can quote people later.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like Krendor over here talking about his one-hit.
Don't even.
I want to say, man, like, real quick, jump back on the Battlegrounds train. I am really impressed by how many little tiny things like that I continue to find. Like, I really didn't think they would be all about the nuance, but just, you know, like the lean, for example, I didn't realize was in the game for quite some time. There's actually quite a bit of complexity to the combat.
Nuance might be a bit of a stretch, but
I'm allowed to use the word without it being pretentious. Come on now.
Oh, I'm not saying it's pretentious, but most of the game is like somebody walks in and shoots you in the chest with a shotgun.
Most of the game is not that. Most of the game is waiting for that to happen.
Yeah, that's true. Most of the game is laying down and abusing third person to see through the window.
All right, Nick. Simulator. All right, Nick. Hey, man. We got another topic for you. StarCraft Remastered. Does that excite you?
More than the other one, I guess.
Yeah. All right. That's good. StarCraft Remastered coming this summer. Blizzard is revamping it, baby. Sin, will you take this one away?
Yeah, so Blizzard just announced that they're going to be redoing all the textures and the character models to be up to, I believe, 4K Ultra HD resolution, whatever the new buzzword is for that. They're redoing some of the audio mastering and the music as well, so it's going to be compatible for widescreens. The the most important thing that I think is really awesome is that they're actually integrating it with Battle.net 3.0 now, or whatever it is. So,
it's Blizzard now. Excuse
they just
me,
call
that
it
would be
Blizzard.
that's the Blizzard app.
it'll
what that
always
is.
be the BNet app. But anyway,
Yeah.
but they're actually going to be including that in the BNet app family, to where it's going to be you can cross communicate, you can set up matches, you can set up tournaments, that sort of thing as well, which is really, really cool. I mean, as an old school StarCraft fan like that, I was not expecting to do this, and if they eventually did an HD remaster, I would have expected it to be almost like a remake. Like they went through and used StarCraft 2 assets, not in like an arcade mod type way, but actually redid the entire campaign, which someone actually has tried to do, by the way.
Oh, really?
Someone on the Blizzard Arcade, someone's trying to remake, I believe, the original StarCraft campaign, a faithful one-to-one recreation of it for a free-to-play Blizzard game. But I mean, is
Blizzard going to slam down the copyright strike on them as soon as they put that up, or?
No, they won't tear it. Someone has a Diablo remake inside of the StarCraft arcade that you can play for free. It's just really good. But I think this is going to be great, because StarCraft 2 has really been stagnating since Heart of the Swarm. It came back though recently, especially thanks to TB, if I can give him a plug, because of what he's been doing with all of his tournaments, that sort of thing. So I think the future's looking bright for StarCraft, and I can't wait to watch people start streaming and actually playing the original StarCraft on Twitch, because now that it's going to be upgraded from the inside out, I mean, we're back to the glory days, and I'm excited.
Yeah, man. And let me kind of throw this little tidbit into the mix here too. I was just thinking about back in 1998, man. What were y'all playing back in 1998? Do you remember? Quake? Sounds about right.
StarCraft for me.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And Diablo.
Crash Team Racing.
Good stuff.
Yeah, Diablo 2.
I was
Crash Team Racing came out in 1999.
I was 8 years old or 9 years old at this point. What was I
Diablo 2 out
playing?
yet?
I was probably playing Crash Bandicoot, actually. That sounds right.
Yeah.
Lord of Destruction wasn't out, but I believe that the original Diablo 2 was out.
Oh, no, it's 2000. No, I wasn't playing Diablo 2.
Crash Bandicoot, the original, that came out.
More like Trash Bandicoot.
Oh, goodness.
Wow.
I don't really believe
Goodness.
that. I just like that it rhymes.
Oh, yeah. I was definitely 3 games into the Crash Bandicoot series in 98. That was when Warped came out. I was all about that. And then it was CTR. That's right. You know what CTR meant to me for a while was choose the right. That's what I learned.
I don't know what that means. So
It's a Mormon thing. Where my Mormons at? That's going to get a big shout, I'm sure. All right.
get him.
All right. Yeah, StarCraft Remastered. That's exciting.
Yeah, looking forward to playing it. I think that might actually bring some people who have possibly never played the original but started with StarCraft 2. They may be impressed to see the origins of a lot of their favorite characters. So.
Yeah, definitely.
It'd be great.
All right. Well, speaking of new characters, right? There's a segue. Heroes of the Storm. Huge new 2.0 update. Another one for Sinvicta, adding major, they call it Overwatch style changes, which I know you've got a little bit of a bone to pick with this one, don't you?
Woo! Yeah,
Real excited.
All right, so to summarize what the 2.0 update is, basically Blizzard is doing away with a lot of the more straightforward, I guess, ways to get skins and make it a little bit more microtransact. They're bringing in 2 different types of currency. One's premium, one's the one that you earn in game. But for the most part, it's going to be revolving around the loot boxes presentation of just the microtransaction variety. For me personally, I'm not a huge fan of it. I'm not going to completely dump on a system that's not even out yet because it just now came into beta. There's a lot of controversies surrounding it, especially concerning the master skins, which, for those of you who've never played the game before, if you level up a hero, whatever hero you want, up to level 10, hero level 10, you can spend 10,000 gold in-game, which is not exactly that easy to get, but it's also not that hard to get it either. And buy a master skin, which can only be used by someone that you have unlocked at level 10 and paid 10,000 gold for. The problem is right now, the big swirling controversy over that is that now Blizzard, supposedly anyway, from what I've read, is going to be doing away with the master skins on how they're traditionally given out now, and just make them into like a legendary drop out of the loot boxes. And that's really not enough for someone like I've been playing since technical alpha before it was even out, and the game has changed fundamentally from the get-go, which is very nice. The thing that would keep me wanting to play this more and more often is if Blizzard, what everyone was hoping for was going to be if Blizzard implemented like a Dota 2 style or Team Fortress 2 style type of loot, where it's like every character has like a slot, like a helmet, they've got a shoulder pads, chest piece, whatever, and then you just get incremental upgrades from just simply playing the game without having to purchase loot boxes. If you want to purchase loot boxes, you can. That's fine with me, but I don't know. Like I don't get excited for skin revamps or skin recolors, that sort of thing. It's not enough for me to be like, yeah, man, I can't wait to play Heroes.
Sure, yeah.
So, and another point I'll bring up, which is sort of Hearthstone related, but what Hearthstone does right and Overwatch and probably Heroes of the Storm will not do right, is I don't like being limited by RNG to try to get what I want for like a skin or a weapon or anything. But at least in Hearthstone, if you don't get the card that you want, you can break down and disenchant the cards you don't want or the extras, and then craft whatever you want. If they did something like that, I think that'd be nice. I would like to see them take the shards, which is the premium currency that you unlock and get loot boxes with. I would love to see them give you shard equivalent if you already have duplicates, or if you can break down skins that you don't want, and then you can save up and buy that with the in-game currency. Or even better, if they had something like an in-game auction house, which won't be so Diablo 3-ish, but if you could say like, hey, I've got a custom Frostmourne skin for Arthas I'm putting up for 20 shards or whatever. Someone buys it, and then you can use the in-game currency to sort of feed the economy back into itself and then buy what you want. Yeah. That's something like that I would never stop playing Heroes of the Storm. I mean, I'm still every now and then sort of motivated to go play Dota again, just because I love the fact that I can just I've got to party up with 4 pugs, but against an AI I can still get like a good piece for Invoker, or maybe something that can sell on the Steam marketplace. I don't even have to make real money for it. Just I want there to be some sort of residual outcome for me to always want to continue playing, because just getting loot boxes that we've already seen in Overwatch and just have it go to RNG is just kind of like whatever. I mean, and you can, people are making the point that, well, if you don't get a skin, you get gold equivalent in Overwatch, which is great. I don't know if they're going to do that for Heroes of the Storm yet. To my knowledge, they haven't actually announced that much for it yet. But I'm hoping that Blizzard will eventually go to some sort of an item drop system for Heroes of the Storm, because that would keep me back just constantly. But right now, it's not worth for me anyway. I'm not like super duper enthused about it.
Sure, yeah. The update, it seems like most of the focus is on this new progression system, along with the cosmetic changes and the changes to the reward earning. Is that more or less the entirety of it, or what else have they done here?
Pretty much, they're touting the character progression and the player account progression pretty heavily.
Yeah.
They want to incentivize players, saying, okay, there's no more level 40 cap, which is what it is now. You can play whatever hero you want for as long as you want, and you'll still always get rewards and that sort of thing. Which is still leading the carrot on a stick mentality of getting people to continue to just do the grind over and over again. But eventually, eventually people are going to get burned out. I mean, I only really play now to do games with Mathis and Jesse and whoever else wants to play. But as far as like solo queuing and that sort of thing, I mean, there's, this isn't it. I don't care how much progression you give me on my account, especially if the rewards that I get are A, stuff I already have, or B, just left up to RNG that I can't somehow, squeeze value out of to get what I want. So, I mean, I realize it sounds pretty entitled, but to some degree, I feel like I can say that just as someone who's played this game for 4 years.
Yeah, I think you get to that point eventually when you've dedicated yourself so much to a game where you have those what may seem like sort of pedantic issues to somebody who's not invested that time in it.
For newer players, it's great. I will say that it's a fantastic, which is why I really don't want to sully the shiny newness of the HOTS 2.0. It was just for me, I wasn't expecting them to do this anytime soon. So you never know. But Blizzard's they're extremely smart about their products, and they listen to a lot of community feedback very carefully. So I have faith that they will do the right thing when it comes to the master skins and stuff.
I find it interesting that with the majority of stuff we talk about to do with Blizzard games, it's not so much that we talk about the games, but how we're meant to pay for them and how they want to design the most perfect Skinner box Like, that is mostly what they're concerned with. The games are sort of like there too, but we only really talk about the Skinner box.
Like this in particular, like this 2.0 update is there's not a lot of game update, is there?
Right.
Like nothing's really changing as far as the gameplay is concerned.
We're getting a new hero.
Yeah.
It's the Amazon. I think she might even be coming out before the 2.0.
And for this
she
being,
looks cool. I mean,
this being like the 2.0 update, you know, that's a big deal. It seems silly, but that's when you turn over the leftmost number, you know, like that means something significant somewhere, right?
Yeah, I mean, it came out as a surprise to me. I'm not going to try to sit here and act like I'm plugged into the Heroes community. I don't go to Reddit. I don't stay up to date with all the latest Heroes news. So it was a surprise to me. I mean, even Jesse might be a better person to ask about, like, if he expected something like this. I know that that I didn't. I know that Mathis didn't know anything about it either. So, you know, I as far as gameplay goes, I think that the game of Heroes of the Storm still needs a lot of work, but it's still fun to play with friends. Just don't do what I do and play solo queue all the time because you'll hate it.
Just don't do that in MOBAs in general.
Yeah, it's not a good idea. I'll stick to StarCraft if I want to 1v1 somebody.
Stick to StarCraft Remastered soon, right?
Yeah, there you go. Throwback.
Okay. Yeah, it is. Yeah, I think it is interesting, Nick. Honestly, like I have to a degree noticed that it's interesting, but they seem to have it down to a pretty fine science, I think, with the Overwatch system. I like the gold reward, although it is still interesting that the legendary gold rewards are like a fraction of the actual equivalent of the thing's cost. But yeah, they're a lot more focused on that, which makes sense because it's probably making them a boatload of money.
Yeah, just to pose something really quickly here before we dwell on it too long.
Yeah.
Like the only reason why, especially veteran players, are putting so much emphasis on critiquing the cosmetics of the game. I mean, the point everyone's making is like, well, are you playing the game to play the game, or are you playing it just to get rewards for playing the game, that sort of thing? And the veteran players, I would say, probably don't really care too much about the rewards, but the fact that Blizzard's sort of like putting it out in the foreground to say, like, this is also a huge part of the update, which is cosmetic and reward based systems that we're putting out in front of what you know, some people would probably say is more important, which is the gameplay element of it. Yeah. That's the only reason why people are talking about it right now. It's not because everyone's feeling entitled who plays this game to be like, well, I think that we should all get free stuff for just doing nothing, you know, and not enjoying the game, because it's a legitimate criticism to say, well, are you playing the game because you like playing the game, or are you just playing to just get shiny new rewards and stuff, that sort of thing. But after a certain point, if it gets put into the foreground too many times by the developer who's doing the spotlighting, it is going to be critiqued. And I think it's fair for it to be open to critique by people who play the game for years. Yeah,
absolutely.
Do we know if StarCraft Remake is getting any kind of microtransactions or like skins or anything?
We don't know.
I don't believe so. No, they're to my knowledge, it's just a remaster. It's not a remake, so they're not going to try to add anything to the game that changes their biggest point on that was making sure that it sticks one-to-one faithful as far as even the feel of the. They're not going to speed up the frames or anything or the sprites. They want it to feel like the original. They just want to update a lot of the textures and resolution and stuff.
Yeah,
they'll probably add achievements, I imagine.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they will.
It is interesting looking at they've got that before and after slider over there on the actual StarCraft website, and you can see like it does, you know, they've HD remastered it, but like you said, like the frames and the animations still look very similar to the 98 versions, which is really interesting.
It's still very 98. Yeah. It's just being upgraded for a 16:9 ratio. So.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun to stream.
All right, cool. That's Heroes of the Storm 2.0. GameStop is closing 150 stores in 2017. While that does only represent about 2 or 3% of the retail giant's overall amount of locations, which I believe is somewhere north of 7,500, that is still quite a few stores being closed down. Looks like their hardware sales have dropped about 30%, and software sales have dropped about 20% this year. This is without the percentages and the number of valuations associated with it. This is just another in a string of stories wherein we're talking about GameStop's not necessarily diminishing role in the industry, because I think for as many stores as they are closing, they are beginning to open doors elsewhere. But GameStop is it's changing as a face in the games industry, which is very interesting.
I think that this is a great thing.
Yeah?
Not because people are losing their jobs, but
I was
because
hoping so.
GameStop's predatory business practices are annoying as a consumer, and honestly, they're being outcompeted.
Yeah.
I don't want to be Rob here and be like anti-establishment, like, you know, why don't we just buy the games at home the day they come out? But it's a way more streamlined experience, and there's no inherent value to having to go drive to the GameStop and then purchase a game instead of just downloading yourself, except you get a physical box. But I think basically we're watching, unless they can reinvent themselves, we're watching like Blockbuster. And if fiber optic internet ever takes off across the U.S., this company is like actually fucked.
Oh, yeah.
I
Unquestionably.
knew back in 2010 when I left there, I knew that they knew that this was coming, and they could already tell that this was a shift they needed to get out ahead of. Because once we started printing out like pay for DLC codes on receipts, so people had to come to the store to buy DLC, I was like, come on now, you all know this is stupid.
Yeah.
And they had to know that was stupid. So, you know, they've gotten into publishing. They've tried to move in other directions. I imagine they know this is going to come crashing down in the next 2 or 3 years if they don't make big moves.
I mean, their system's fairly been archaic for a while now. So, you know, as Ryan said, it's sad that if people are, you know, losing their jobs and stuff, but I feel like it wasn't going to be sustainable, you know, as technology gets better and more digital content gets easier to download for a consumer side. It really does remove why go to the store? Or I could save the gas and the miles on my car. You know, I can just sit here and actually
the trade-ins largely.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
necessarily trade in your digital copies, which is a whole other discussion, obviously, but that is largely what keeps them afloat at this point, is the margin off used game and hardware sales. And they went into sort of experimenting with the idea of almost becoming like an electronics pawn shop.
Yeah.
After a while, they were taking cell phones and tablets and things. I don't know how that worked out for them.
Well, no, this was, what am I thinking of? I remember when Blockbuster actually had the third-party retailer that was attached to some of their stores for a little while. You remember that place? I don't remember what it was called, but they sold all the peripherals and all the hardware and shit like that for consoles and games and things. And, yeah, like, it's weird to think that GameStop was competing with places like that for a while. You know, like they were competing with other brick and mortars, and now there's not really anybody that's in the retail space competing with them still, but they have competition that is devouring them in most respects. And the trade-ins are still just shitty, too. So if they don't try to improve that or make it at least a little bit more incentivizing for people, it's still just...
They built the whole freaking industry for them around those margins being shitty.
Yeah.
Or around their margins being good versus the consumer getting a shitty one. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I got an email a week after I picked up my brand new PS4 and saying, hey, you could trade that PS4 in for $100 and get these brand new games for your new Xbox One or whatever.
For full price.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, you know, they offered $15 for Monster Hunter Generations like a couple of days after I bought it. I'm like, are you kidding? This game just came out. Like, I'm not going to trade it in, especially for that little money. I mean, if I buy something, I'm just going to hold on to it. I'm one of those weird people. Like, I guess it's a pack rat that, you know, if I bought like, you know, something that's somewhat semi-permanent, like, you know, an old Game Boy or whatever, like, I'm not going to sell it to anybody. I still have my old Game Boy, you know, like. Just trading it in, especially for a minimal amount of value to get back to it, is like, it's amazing it went on this long. But I guess, as Nick said, you know, kudos to them because they actually did curate the market to.
Well, it's kudos, but also the opposite, because they curated the market by showing from the beginning they were going to be incredibly aggressive. And what that's resulted in is them scaling based on the amount of income they've made from those aggressive purchases and resales.
Yeah.
And in turn, that is now costing them on the back end, because they've got such a large reach over the market, but they can't sustain it because people are losing interest. That sort of thinking requires that thinking to go on for years and years into the future. And if it changes, the whole system kind of crumbles.
Right.
It also feels like there's nothing they can do except for like their little micro-publishing venture.
Yeah.
But what can they do to keep up with PC gaming when nobody cares about buying boxed PC games unless it's like a rare collector's edition and your Mathis, right? Like,
yeah, exactly.
I feel like PC gaming cuts into used gaming as well, because there's no real reason to go and be like, okay, I'm going to pay $40 for this game that came out 6 months ago when you could just wait and get it on Steam for that price or cheaper. And you don't have to worry about A, going to the store, or B, the chance that somebody's messed with the disc, or, there's just an inherent sort of mild level of risk that comes with that with Steam you don't, especially considering you can just get a refund in 2 hours if you don't like it.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, what brick and mortar store can compete with you picking up a game, taking it home, and then everyone knows how much a pain in the ass it is to try to return a game that you bought, especially a PC game back in the day, It's like, well, I still have 2 hours or 14 days to play this game. If I hate it, I'll see you later.
Yeah. Well, did you guys have HMV in the US?
No.
I haven't.
Okay, so it's HMV is like I think it was a British CD selling chain or a music selling chain, and I kind of see GameStop. Not that I'm like an industry insider or something, or
You're not?
I know, right? Or like, I'm not making a prediction necessarily, but I kind of see them doing the same thing that like HMV did, where after digital distribution for music, and I guess in particular piracy became huge, they're like, well, nobody's buying CDs anymore, so we're going to start selling like video games. Nobody was buying the video games. They started selling like shirts. They became like a weird sort of hot topic where you'd go and get like, I love White Russian shirt with the Big Lebowski dude on the shirt or something like that. And it just like, they're like reinvented themselves like 5 times over the course of 8 years. And then they're like, we're done. Like we're out. Now they're just having like liquidation sales. And I sort of feel like GameStop is sort of moving in that direction. Whenever I go there, I'm like, it's like 75 to 80% games now, and then like 10% peripherals and 10% like random knickknacks and stuff like that related to video game culture.
Yeah.
It's funny
Sorry, go ahead.
It's funny that you mentioned Hot Topic, because I'm going down the grapevine of GameStop and their parent or their subsidiaries, because they have quite a few. It surprised me. Also, hilariously enough, their headquarters are in Grapevine, Texas. So there we go. I actually managed to work something.
I was thinking when I was pretty much about to leave the company, that I was like, all right, so they're either going to go in one of two directions. They're either going to double down on scaling up as far as possible, or they're going to realize that this isn't a future for them and take it down way low scale, put about half or 3/4 of their stores, and become like a little hobby shop, essentially, where the real emphasis is on having employees with expertise and hopefully a small but well-curated bunch of items to sell.
Yeah.
And like I honestly think that would have kept them in the game way longer in the long run, because even if game sales and retail boxes and specific things like that stop being in demand, there's still going to be a small demand for that kind of thing, niche specific specialty products, and the people that know about those products and can acquire them for you if you're looking for that. So not having a huge mega massive corporate architecture to have to maintain, I think would have gone a lot better for them as we approach this point. I would give them less than 5 years at this point, really.
I don't know about that. I think they're going to stick around. They're not going to be sticking around in the capacity that they are right now. They're going to be, I think Ryan's close to it, and that they're going to be operating in a very different spectrum. Like, just, I was going down this rabbit hole a bit, just like looking at the subsidiaries they have. Do you know they own Cricket Wireless? Like, that's an interesting one. And
what is Cricket Wireless?
It's just it's a wireless phone provider in the United States, I believe. It might only be in the U.S., but yeah, they own that. They are a parent company of EB Games, which isn't surprising. They also do ThinkGeek. So they've got a few other things that they're working with, but they also, of course, have the publishing line Game Trust that they are starting to make things happen with. They've got some foundation that isn't 100% relying on the brick and mortar succeeding. I think GameStop as a company is going to stick around. It's just going to be a very different thing in a few years,
The other thing about GameStop, or at least EB Games up here, because we still have Electronics Boutique, but like my hometown had like 130,000 people in it, and there was an EB Games in the mall, and literally like half a mile down the road, there was a standalone EB Games. Yeah. And then if you drove like maybe 15 minutes away from that, there was another EB Games like located downtown.
Yeah.
It's like, how many game stores do you need to service this? I hear in like big American cities, it's even crazier. Like you could have like 7 or 8 GameStops in a single city. Which
there were 3 in one mall.
That makes no sense to me at all.
Okay, but let me explain why. One was a GameStop, one was an EB Games, and one was an EBX.
Okay.
So for a while, those things didn't all exist at the same time, and they sort of, kind of, maybe went in different directions. But honestly, EBX was the only one that did that. Really, it was ridiculous. Like it was good for them because if you were in a position where you had like somebody called out that day, you just go, "Oh, the person 3 stores down can come over and ship."
Yeah.
But it's just ridiculous. They went too aggressive.
You said heard it through the grapevine because they're established in grapevine.
That's what no one said.
I see.
Fucking yeah.
I caught it. I didn't have a time to say it until just now. I was laughing. I was laughing my ass off earlier because I saw the replay of you on the stream, and you were like, you were so disappointed. Hang on there, I got you. Hang on, let me get you real quick. I'm sorry.
Chat, did you get it? You got it, chat. Okay, good.
I don't know about you guys, but like whenever I have to buy, well, I mean, if I have to buy like a console or pre-order it, I just do it on Amazon or Best Buy. And if I have to have a game like that day, I usually go to a big box retailer. I guess in this case, like a huge box retailer, like Best Buy or Walmart or you know wherever I can find it. Basically, like I can't think of the last time I was inside of a GameStop.
I bought Breath of the Wild from a GameStop, but that was just born of convenience, honestly. Like, it wasn't... I probably would have just bought it on the digital store, but I happened to be at a GameStop, and I was like, well, here we go. This is weirdly convenient, which normally it isn't. But, yeah.
Last time I was in one was, I think, the last day I worked.
Wow.
I'm not surprised by that at all. You haven't
to not go in them after that. I usually just go to Best Buy now or order on Amazon.
It's really weird being in there now because they do price matching and stuff now. At least the one that's close to me. I was like, hey, I found a PS4 Pro on Amazon for like $399.99, and they're trying to get like I think $435 or something like that. And I was like, you guys price match? They're like, yeah, as long as you can show us a legitimate deal. I was like. And Best Buy does the same thing too. I figured they'd be the last company to do online price matching, but it's really weird because it just seems like everyone, why not just have one big store for everything if they're just going to sell it for the same price? There's no competition anymore as far as games are concerned. Wherever you feel like going, you can get it for whatever the best price is that you can vouch for.
Well, of course, and they knew that, and that was when all the pre-order bonuses for specific stores showed up, which was quickly. Well, I mean, they're still doing that every now and then, but it's not nearly as prevalent anymore.
You don't have to deal with like high pressure sales tactics, but I mean, I also am sympathetic to GameStop in a way where I'm like, what do? You got like 15,000 stores or something ridiculous across the U.S. that are probably all pretty expensive to maintain, and you're paying your staff, and you're probably not making crazy margins on new products to begin with. Like, how do you reinvent your business quickly enough to respond to the changes that have happened, particularly in like the last 5 or 6 years? I really don't know what you do when the thing to sell, like it's all digital distribution, or a lot of it is digital distribution now.
They've been way too slow to adapt, and I think one of their strategies was to try and get exclusive like DLC and pre-order bonuses, which is really kind of short-sighted because how do you keep that going? Like, where does that go ultimately? If the industry moves away from that, you're stranded. And what else do you have to sell other than your own proprietary objects, which are like pre-orders and edge cards?
Yeah.
Right?
That is not my problem.
Guarantees on things these are all artificial products. They're not real.
That's a hell of a problem to try to find a solution for, man.
You created a secondary artificial product around a thing that could move away from you, and then your entire plan just falls apart from there.
Oh man, you know what? I was trying to say GameStop's sticking around, but I just realized they're definitely dead. You know how I know? Wikipedia entry for GameStop. Look at the chronological order of things. They have GameStop goes from 2004 to 2016. Next subheading is decline. 2016 to present. They're going down.
That's vicious.
They're going down. I didn't know, but Wikipedia said so. This is it. GameStop's gone.
If Wikipedia said so, I mean,
did it give you an amount of years so that way I could know if I was right?
It says till present, so we haven't predicted the future yet.
Okay, we're still within present right now, so that's good.
Actually, there is some news coinciding with this, of course, and that is going along the same lines of how do they change, how do they fix themselves. Coinciding with the closing of 150 stores, they are also opening 65 new technology brand stores, which I believe are those Cricket wireless outlets. And they're also opening a few more new ThinkGeek stores as well. Those are the collectible ones. So yeah, they're doing other stuff, and I think they're as well aware of the problem as we are, and seems like they're at least making some attempts at branching out a bit.
And that's fine, but you're screwed, I think, because like you can open up collectible stores, but you're never going to be able to get to that same level. Like the sale of video game collectibles worldwide is probably a lot less than the sale of video game software, I would imagine. So
well, besides amiibos.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if like big suits at GameStop are like, please, Nintendo.
That's the
more
one thing.
More amiibos. Any chance we could get you to exclusively release the new Call of Duty in a boxed format instead of digitally? Like that would be swell. But
they're a big lumbering truck. They're going to take a while to adapt and probably too long.
I still love that Ryan comes up as Stinkvicta and Nick comes up as on Zoom. No one can see that, but it's great.
Also, nobody feels bad for your company for dying because every story about you is negative.
That's true.
For the past 15 years, so.
Yeah, I still, no pleasure taken in people losing their jobs by all means, but also that starts with you being a dick to your employees in the first place.
Yeah.
And how do we not know that this was Mathis's grand plan all along?
He got him, dude.
Don't.
He fucking sabotaged him.
What if he edited the wiki?
Exactly.
Oh, man, that's a possibility.
It's in between queues at MXM.
Right, he's got some time on his hands down there in LA, man.
Yeah.
He's got to do something.
There's nothing to do in LA except play MXM and edit Wikipedia.
Yeah. All right. Well, along these same lines, we've got some more unfortunate news here. Is Mad Katz, the beloved Mad Katz, is finally
Also,
declaring
very well
bankruptcy.
stocked by GameStop.
Yeah, certainly very familiar with each other. Oh man, if you haven't heard of Mad Katz, you've probably played on a Mad Katz controller over at your friend's house. Those are those third-party ones that didn't quite look like the right thing, but they at least did the job for the most part. Mad Katz has gotten, of course, into other peripherals, including some instruments I believe they were a part of. And mostly, though, they've just been the company for third-party controllers and third-party solutions. Cheaper things, more or less.
Yeah.
And that was not really a niche that was destined to last for longer than it has, I suppose.
Thank you to Mad Katz for teaching most of us a lesson at an early age that you get what you pay for.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I had that when I bought my PS2. DualShocks were like $50, and I got a Mad Katz controller for $29.29.
Fuck
or
yeah, dude.
$29.99. Sorry, that I just linked in chat. I can just looking at it, I can remember it. Like the smell of the analog sticks was like it was straight out of like a varnish factory every day until I threw it in the trash. It had this,
on top.
It didn't have goop, but it was like they had melted a garbage bag on top of the analog stick or something like that.
It got kind of like a little sticky from all the sweat.
Yes.
In a way that was really uncomfortable to use.
I wonder what they used for the vibration in the DualShock then.
I'm looking at this and I'm remembering so much about it because like every Mad Katz controller had something like this. You're like, well, it's not just a DualShock. Like, look at that. It's got that analog to digital dynamic switch button. What does that even mean? Like the macro button, I don't think I ever used, but it was definitely like every single one of these was like the Player 2 controller that had like, oh yeah, like you get that one. The R1 button doesn't really work. Like sometimes it gets stuck, or the analog stick is misaligned, so you always turn a little bit to the left.
It's the one you give your sister like to play Bond with. It's like, yeah, that one has all the Kirby stickers on it and stuff. You can have that one. The left stick doesn't work, but I won't.
I also I don't think this was Mad Katz. It might have been like Hori or something like that, but the PlayStation 2 memory cards were like $40 or something. And from Toys R Us, I was like, there's one that's $20. But in order to get it to work, before you booted up the console, you had to put this little mini disc in the disc slot with the memory card plugged in, and then you would pick from the memory card like the game you wanted to play, and then while it was spinning, you would open it up. Oh, this is maybe PS1 actually. You'd open up the disc tray and put in the actual piece
Yeah.
of software you
Yeah.
wanted to
I
play,
remember
and
that.
then it would go. And I was like, yeah, it was some sketchy stuff, but
Creative though. They went out of the box.
absolutely true. But like, this was the lesson that it taught me. Like, just save up your allowance for another couple of weeks and buy the first party thing, because this is pretty bad.
That's the equivalent of that one converter that you had to use for SNES to play like those the non-official non-officially licensed Nintendo games, where like you had to put something in first and then put the game on top of it.
Right.
In certain situations, you had to put that converter, a game on top of that worked, and then another game on top of that. So you can actually play the game.
You want to talk about the Tower of Power?
Yeah,
motherfucker.
Yeah.
Sega Genesis.
Oh,
yeah.
dude.
With me.
There you go.
Sega CD, Sega Genesis, 32X, Game
32X
Genie,
CD.
Sonic and Knuckles, Sonic 3.
Sonic and Knuckles was my shit, yo. I had no problem putting cartridges into cartridges for that. That was the
We
shit.
in it now. This podcast is officially lit now. Let's get it going, fam.
I knew I did it properly when it would no longer fit in the area that I had my Genesis in anymore. Like, I couldn't fit any more games on top
Just
of
kept
that
fucking stacking shit on that thing, man. It just never stopped.
There was the online thing for Sega Genesis. I want to say like something live. Play.
I don't remember.
No, I don't know what it. I almost said Play Live, which is the St. Jude thing.
Yeah.
That's not the same.
Exactly.
Somebody
the same.
will remember.
Exactly the same.
But that's another cartridge you could stack into the Tower of Power.
You know, speaking of Sonic and Knuckles, actually, that does remind me. I don't think this was a Mad Catz controller, but I remember one of the best controllers I ever had, which was on the Sega Genesis. It was this fight stick looking thing, but it only had the Sega Genesis buttons on it, so it was just, you know, the top three and the bottom three, and then you could increase with knobs with potentiometers on the top of the controller. That's the actual term, believe it or not. You could turn those knobs, and then you could increase the turbo speed at which the controller automatically put in those inputs. So if you're playing Sonic, you just turn up the turbo, and then you hold down the button, and then Sonic goes down and goes into super spin mode super quick. You don't have to worry about mashing the button anymore, man.
That's cheating, Bear.
No way. That's just
Can't do
convenience.
that.
Nah, dude. See, if I was using that online, that'd be cheating. That's why they don't make those anymore, though, I'm sure.
Ryan has a feather duster to the right of him.
It's real cute.
I believe that
You
was
got a
Tomo.
problem? I'm just waiting for Tomo to lay down so I can pick him up and show him off.
AVGN did a great analogy when he did the Sega 32X review and stuff. He says, look at it, because he had everything like hooked up to it. He's like, look at it. It looks like it's on life support.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
So someone needs to pull the plug, and then he shoots it with an arrow. It's like, where did James even get like a bow, and B, how do you learn how to shoot a bow? He had like the glove and everything. It's like,
Yeah, shooting a bow's hard, dude. You ever done that?
Yeah,
That
I know.
shit's tough.
Yeah.
it's very difficult.
Yeah.
There was like a fish and game festival that came to my hometown, and they had things for kids like learn how to shoot an arrow, and you think like, oh, I'm probably gonna at least hit the target on the first try.
Yeah.
And then you're like,
That
And
fucking
then you rip up
string.
your wrist right here.
Yeah. And you have like the string like just burning a hole in your forearm over here, and you let it go. It's like, how did that even happen? Like,
Yeah.
how did Legolas do it?
I'm glad we all had the
Fire
same
Orlando.
experience with this, man. Now I don't feel like such a failure not being able to pull back that fucking bow.
It's much easier to shoot bows and arrows in video games.
Yeah.
Much easier.
There is some, there's more details about this Mad Catz bankruptcy as well. Apparently, it was, they were banking on Rock Band 4. They were really needing that
Lots
to
of
do
people
well.
were.
Yeah, it was, and it did not happen for them. They said, it's a direct quote, the company needed Rock Band 4 to succeed in order to stabilize itself, and that, nope.
Yeah,
Not
all
even
of
a little
sudden,
bit.
Ryan sang Jeremy, and then everything
I think we're the best thing that's ever happened to that game, man.
led to the downfall of GameStop right there,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
Mad Catz crumbled because Ryan sang Jeremy.
I hate to say it, but it's like another example of a company that actually here, like, they've gotten a lot better. Like, if I remember correctly, there are Mad Catz fight sticks that people actually like. But like, you got ill will with the consumers, because everybody who buys or who bought a Mad Catz product from like 2000 to 2008 was like, you tricked me. Like, I basically, or like it's the kind of thing that's designed to like trick your mom who doesn't know that much about gaming, and she's like, well, he asked for a controller, why would I get him this one that's $60 when I could get him this one for $40. They do the same thing.
And this one's see-through too. Look,
I
it
had-
has green.
More
I had
buttons.
so many parents trying to shop on budgets that I had to sell Mad Catz controllers, and I felt so guilty about it every time. But it's like they're either going to get this or nothing.
I thought that they were considered like that. They were. I'm completely miseducated on this, or at least not educated on it. But all of my friends who are down, like hardcore fighting game fans, all own Mad Catz.
Well, that's the thing he's saying is like recently they've made some strides. It seems they've had some quality improvements.
This was like 5 or 6 years ago. Like that was like Mad Catz was it. Like that was the brand that you get if you wanted to take.
But it was Hori was the brand back then.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't know. All my friends, I mean, they watch Evo all the time, and they're like, yeah, we got like if you decided you want to try to play Street Fighter on your computer, you got to get a Mad Catz. That's like the best you can get. So I thought it was like held high in very, very high regard as far as, you know, the quality of its products. I mean, I never owned one because I don't care about fighting games. But
I can't speak to that, but there's also the point to be made of like they made everything. They made controllers, like fucking flight sticks, the fight sticks. I guess they were bound to work something right.
To be honest, I
keep
thought
swinging.
all they
Eventually,
sold
going to
was-
hit something.
I thought all they sold was just fight sticks. That's all I thought that they sold. So
Now, for me, they were synonymous with kind of cheap, crappy controllers that you buy with,
Yeah,
you know,
I'm
parents
getting
want to buy Christmas
that
stuff.
Well, yeah, that's again. Obviously, we're not celebrating an entire company going bankrupt. That's unfortunate. However, they did kind of have the writing on the wall here for a little
we'll
while.
sure talk about it, Bear.
That's right.
I
It's
don't
the
like
news.
celebrating people losing their jobs, but in my defense, they did end their name with a Z. And I think it's about time that somebody stands up for the proper grammatical spelling
At least they didn't
pronunciation
put
of
the A
things.
for the cats.
Yeah, that
Imagine
it
that.
could have been a lot worse.
Yeah,
Look at the silver lining, man.
yeah.
Okay.
Don't put Z's at the end of stuff.
Yeah, don't do that. For Honor players are pissed off.
Why?
Guess why?
I
For
don't
Honor
know.
players mad.
Tell us, Northern Lion.
For Honor players are mad because the amount of steel, which is the in-game currency you get in the game, required to keep up and like get the elite outfits for every class, it came to the point where you could spend like $700 to buy them all if you bought steel, or you could spend something like 500 hours in game and then you could unlock them. So basically they had priced, well, they had set the value as if it was a free-to-play game, despite the fact that people spent $60 or more depending on where they lived to actually purchase it. So they really felt like Ubisoft was grinding them for steel. Like they were pushing on them or leaning on them to try to get them to actually purchase microtransactions. So they organized a like day-long blackout that was supposed to happen, I think like April 3rd or something
3rd,
like
yeah.
that. And then basically like as soon as they announced it, Ubisoft was like, okay, we're going to like raise the amount of steel you get for losing and winning in game. And also we're going to bring back like a map that we took out of the game. We're basically going to release a patch that's going to like address some of your concerns. So, I mean, it's weird because you want to be cynical about the fact that they just did it immediately after facing like literally the slightest bit of pressure. But at least I guess they did something. But they have a problem, I think, with communications right now where when people were like, hey, we paid AAA price for this game and we can't buy everything for all these characters in a reasonable time frame, Ubisoft was like, well, it's more like a MOBA or like a fighting game. You should have like one character that you main and buy all the stuff from them, and then like for everybody else, you might pick up one or two items. You're like, that's good. If it's a free-to-play game, but it's not, people like there's literally like content that is inconceivable to get, despite the fact that you purchased it at full price.
Yeah.
For someone like me, I actually still don't really care. My warlord looks janky as hell. Like he's just decked out with like jury-rigged whatever I could find. But I can understand why people would be concerned, or not concerned, but annoyed. And kudos to the For Honor community for doing something about it instead of just bitching about it. So I think that it was good community organization, and I'm really surprised that Ubisoft has chosen to take a little bit of an adversarial stance, given that game is still in a very tenuous position, and if it ever is going to survive and thrive in the same way that like Rainbow Six Siege did, they would be wise, in my opinion, to take a more pro-community atmosphere. But
kudos to them for doing something, which is, say, kudos to them for doing nothing on April 3rd, or at least not playing For Honor. That's the idea.
I thought it was going to be like the Call of Duty boycotts that are like, okay, nobody playing, and the list is just nothing but people.
Yeah,
that was the immediate thought I had as soon as I saw this. Like, oh yeah, that's gone well in the past, hasn't it?
Has there ever been any sort of successful boycott in any gaming situation like
Apparently this one.
That's what I'm saying. I can't think of any other company that's tried to do that, or a community that's done that and actually had, the outcome that they're looking for.
It's weird to me they caved so easily. If they wanted it bad enough, like, why would they give in with such little pressure?
Yeah.
Right? Like, it couldn't have meant that much to them, which means, does it mean that much to you not to just have the goodwill? You couldn't just have the goodwill and not do it.
It almost smacks of, like, they were just seeing how long they could get away with doing it.
That's exactly what I mean, yeah.
We're not on the business side, but it does seem obvious to us. Where we're like, there's so many games right now that people, like, they're going to have a game that they play or two games that they play a lot.
Yeah.
I think we all have something like that. Most of us are playing Battlegrounds right now, or, Bear plays a bunch of Rocket League. There's some, for a company to really, like, for you to feel confident putting 50, 100, 500 hours into a game, you kind of want the publisher to meet you halfway and be like, here's what we're going to do to grow a good ecosystem for the game. We're going to have, like, content delivered at these intervals. And, you want to be – you can never give too much to your community, I guess. And if they still want For Honor to be played in a year the way that Rainbow Six Siege has been, like, it would be wise for them to loosen the purse strings a little bit instead of trying to, like, milk everybody that they have for microtransactions.
It's not just the microtransactions, right? There's other issues that they are dealing with. I mean, I know I've heard quite a bit about, of course, Uplay. The matchmaking is still a little inconsistent. There's a lot of disconnects, stuff like that. So obviously they want that to be fixed as well. And I'm sure Uplay, Ubisoft are aware of it, but it has been. I mean, it's the days keep on ticking, man, and the changes are not rolling out until they're basically forced to via threat of boycott. It's a little disconcerting.
Again, yeah, it just smacks of seems like they were just trying to see how long they could do it before they were forced to change.
Yeah.
To do so.
That Uplay stuff, though, it's been consistent in how they implement multiplayer into the engines of all their games across the board, right? So, like, I wouldn't even expect them to ever fix that.
Yeah, in my opinion, I think that until they divorce themselves from Uplay or reinvent it, you're going to end up with that same, like, NAT settings bullshit that happens, like not being able to stay in a lobby with your friends.
Your connection's not good enough to support our multiplayer, so we have to have you wait. Okay,
it's been a consistent problem since, like, I mean, we had that problem all the time when we played Blacklist. That was back in, like, 2013.
Oh, Splinter Cell, yeah.
And like Assassin's Creed 4, I think that was 2013 too. Like, exactly the same problem. So I mean, there's bigger problems for sure, but I am like, I just am surprised that of the two approaches you would take, squeeze your existing consumers instead of, like, trying to foster a healthier player base, which is really what's gonna that's what kills multiplayer games right now. Is a month or two after release, people are on Reddit being like, hey, does anybody still play this game? And if the answer is not really, then nobody's gonna buy it, and you're eventually just gonna end up with, like, 10 people who have 10,000 hours each, and will not make it very conducive for new players.
This is such an interesting situation, man. Like, it's usually the opposite of this, where the game is not so great, but the developers are working hard and they're communicating with the people to make it better. Whereas with this, it's like the game is fantastic, but they're just not doing all the back end stuff that they need to do.
It seems like they hit a bottleneck somehow in development. Like, they got all the shit done they could before it went to press, and then they did, and then now it's just mostly stagnating.
Yeah.
It's almost like they had some sort of futuristic MMO and decided to turn into a first-person shooter.
I feel like I sort of feel like everybody's just forgotten about Ghost Recon and Wildlands now that we're, like,
I was championing for it, and then I got my heart broken by everybody else's responses.
Yeah, Force that good to me.
Force hated that game, man.
To me, it's like, it's a credit to the fact that For Honor is at least interesting, whether or not you believe that it's a good or a great game. It's at least interesting enough that a community is formed around it and is fighting to try to keep it alive. But the timbre of the situation that I got from the subreddit was that people are like, we don't mind doing a boycott because we feel like if we don't do something, the game basically won't have a community in like 6 weeks. So people feel like they're kind of like, it's very grandiose to say that they're fighting for their lives, but if they want this game to succeed, they feel like they have to do something sort of drastic. So, I mean, it's a bummer. Honestly, I tend to not be the kind of person who plays. I probably was not going to play For Honor for the whole year, but a lot of my momentum has kind of gotten sucked out of it as a result of this. But also PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds just being a little bit more the new hotness right now, at least.
Doesn't that happen to every game, though? Eventually they had some sort of huge sweeping release, and then like the what little community is left, as far as little in comparing to the release ratio is concerned, they'd be like, okay, we have to save the game. Like, doesn't that always seem like it happens? Like, sometimes it's frequently
the nature of every game release is hit a huge head and then drive down a huge hill.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm
how
saying.
long can you stave off the destruction of your community is all.
Yeah, and
I feel like there are exceptions though. Like Overwatch came out strong and has stayed strong. It's a huge community, but I don't feel like they've had to navigate around too much controversy or build up their community back from nearly zero or something.
I would imagine, though, they still had a similar trajectory where they didn't necessarily get into the danger zone at any point, but they probably still had that explosive launch followed by a little bit of a trickle down into what is now the steady player base. But they probably haven't had to deal with the, oh my god, we're losing them, how do we resurge this sort of thing.
It feels like it's still going strong to you guys, because I hardly hear anybody talking about it now.
Not among us, but it's definitely going strong still.
Overwatch is so good.
Yeah.
My barometer for it is just that, like, I can't avoid seeing Overwatch memes on Twitter. Like, I see, like, not 100, but maybe, like, 25 Overwatch memes a day. And I think that has become, like... it's become Rocket League for a lot of people, I guess.
When the biggest controversy was which way is Tracer facing, you know that your game's going to be okay for a while.
I do want to mention, too, that we kind of just brushed Wildlands under the rug there, but they did have one of the biggest launches so far of 2017, so people are liking it, apparently, or at least enough to buy it. I don't know how many people are still playing it, though.
You should watch Yahtzee's review on it.
Yeah? I probably need to. I need to
the ultimate Ubisoft game.
I love
He was not a huge fan, let me put it that way.
Yeah, he's always hated Ubisoft.
Yeah.
He liked Assassin's Creed, though. Yeah, I love
Black Flag?
1 and Black Flag, I believe.
Everybody liked Black Flag. Black Flag was great.
I never played it. I only played 1 and 2.
It's quite good.
Mm-hmm. Black Flag's pretty good.
I heard the
I like Flag.
Yeah, Corey was a great whaler back in the day.
Yeah.
Twitch.tv/FlagBlag. Go follow him. That was that news story. Cool. All right, next.
All right, Corey, we'll take your money now.
The other thing is that, I mean, Overwatch is another almost full price game with microtransactions, but the microtransactions in Overwatch are actually better than they are in For Honor, which is crazy. So
that's saying something.
Yeah.
All right. There we go. For Honor boycott. We'll see if it actually happens. I'm curious to see just how effective it ends up being.
I think they've canceled the boycott because Ubisoft gave in to their demands like immediately.
Okay. I had an impression that they were still doing it because they had to still like send a message, but I don't know if that's been updated recently.
They got what they wanted. What's the point? Just
there's still a few
other game we like today.
Yeah, there's a few other things they want still. Is I think the bigger picture. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. All right, real quick here, I want to touch on a whole bunch of new details we just got about Darkest Dungeon's Crimson Court DLC because I'm excited about it, man. They're more or less giving me everything I wanted out of a Darkest Dungeon DLC, which is a parallel campaign that exists in congruence with your main one that introduces a brand new area, a whole bunch of new enemies, and new bosses, along with a brand new character class. So it's like, as I said, it's like this is... If I were to ask them for a DLC, this would be it. So I'm pretty damn excited. This is nailing all the points for me. Sin, I imagine you're feeling pretty excited about this one too, yeah?
Yeah, I can't wait. I actually have not read any of the new updates for today, so I'm hearing all this for the first time. Tell me about it, Bear.
Sure, yeah, no, that is more or less it. I'm going to be real quick about this one because I know there's not much to it, but it's going to be late May, early June is their current expected target release date. And this, yeah, it's perfect. I don't have any more to say about it other than I am really glad that this is the route they've gone. This is exactly what I was hoping for. Just like an entire new campaign. Or I don't know how long it's going to be. I'm assuming it's not going to be as long as the vanilla campaign, but it is certainly going to be a brand new Darkest Dungeon experience, and I'm absolutely looking forward to that.
Yeah, I'm just glad they didn't just add like a fifth act.
Right.
And then you had to start over your campaign or something like that, you know, or it was just like you have to do a very basic unlocking quest. So, but I mean, I had faith that Chris and Tyler were going to do something along like this. So
definitely, like I had my fears that it was going to be something like that or something like just adding in the new area. Period,
yeah,
you know,
that's
like,
what I was worried.
Which could definitely fuck things up. But I'm really glad they're going this
You
route.
can tell that they've been doing their homework as far as how to do actual DLC content instead of just like patches.
Yeah.
Content.
Well, I mean, I have some criticisms. For example,
Hit me.
Why not call it Darker Dungeon?
Because it's the darkest already. You can't go darker than
Well,
that.
Can't
that's
get darker
what
than the
we'd have to
darkest.
explore the narrative consequences of a Darkest Dungeon getting even darker.
How
I'm
do you
not really-
comprehend it?
Not really hearing the.
What about catatonic catacombs?
That sounds good.
Sounds like you're dead.
Yeah.
It's
sounds
inside
like-
of the catacombs.
It's like something like a cat owner would recommend.
Yeah.
That's extremely offensive. I was mostly, yeah, then of course you do Darkest Dungeon Plus, and then
Yeah.
perhaps the redungeoning.
Darkest Dungeon Reloaded.
Darkest,
Darkest Dungeon 2 Electric Boogaloo.
exactly.
Yeah, there you go.
We got them all.
Look, the joke didn't work. All I'm saying
fair.
is it's good. I like.
Vanta Black Dungeon.
I am very glad for you guys that you will experience what I've experienced with Isaac, whereas a game that you've played for 1,000 hours suddenly gets more content, and that's cool because when those first few runs when there's new content that's actually curated, not to insult mods, but like it's actually been curated and tested and is cool. Your childlike wonder comes out in full force because you're like, this thing is different.
Yeah.
It's not the same. Every other time it's been the same.
Yeah,
I
absolutely,
was
dude.
surprised as hell to see. Like I had no idea that the newest booster pack went through, and I found mini delirium or low delirium or whatever. I'm like,
yeah.
this wasn't in the game yesterday. Like, what does this
That's-
item do?
Isn't that an item in the actual game though?
It is now. That's what I'm saying.
I thought that item was in before the booster pack. I might be crazy though.
Not little delirium. You're thinking of the 12 charge spacebar item. aren't you?
No, that's Eden's Soul. Oh, you're right. Little Delirium was added in
What are you
Booster
talking
Pack
about?
1.
What game are you playing?
Dude, I don't know. I've been playing
For Honor.
mods on and off. That's right. Mostly For Honor.
That's what you get for playing For Honor all the time.
Darkest Dungeon DLC will be coming late May, early June. We'll see how it goes.
Woo!
Yay! All
And
right.
apparently Wayne's new lines are awesome.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm
Can't
definitely
wait.
looking forward to
Yeah, I
hearing
can't
more
wait.
of him. All right. I'm going to talk about Meganoid for a bit. Meganoid is a new challenging platformer made by Orange Pixel. This is actually a mobile game, I found out. It came out a few years ago. It was a very simple platforming mobile game. It had a sequel on mobile as well, and now they are going for a full-fledged Steam release. So they've turned it from a simple platformer into it's a Spelunky light. That is absolutely the best way to describe this thing. So you got yourself your procedurally generated levels, and it's pretty straightforward. You got the basic platforming obstacles. You got your spikes. You got your robot enemies. You got your little orange red dudes that'll crawl around, and you got your systematic level progressions. You got 3 levels in the first area, you got 3 levels in the second, you got 3 levels in the third. And that it was as far as I got, because I was actually pleasantly surprised by the difficulty of it. It had a very Spelunky vibe all the way through in many different respects. One of those being the difficulty curve, which I thought they actually handled fairly well. And just like the 2 or so hours that I have played of it, I really liked the sense of progression that I got, where, again, very similar to Spelunky, the first few runs I was getting my ass kicked, and I was, kind of trying to figure out the new systems, figure out what the enemies did and all that kind of stuff. And then I became more and more familiar with it, began to realize what the different items do, what the different interactions are. And I was having fun. I was enjoying it. I was having a good time. I was learning the new systems, getting to new secret areas. Just like Spelunky again, they've got like different shortcut paths that you can access depending on what items you've brought to a certain point or things like that. You can like find a scientist midway through 2-2, for example, and they'll randomly allow you to teleport to some new area. And you've got like these underwater stages. You've got a boss, I believe, at the end too, that I never actually reached, but I was hoping to. And yeah, it's pretty good. It's definitely got some issues though. So the controls are not excellent. It kind of feels a little. It's a little too jumpy. By which I mean like your movement is extremely sudden once you begin to move in a certain direction. I think you guys probably get the idea of what I'm talking about there. And then I think the hit detection is a little wonky with quite a few enemies as well. I felt like I was, plenty distance away from things that I ended up running into sometimes. The spikes too are a little wonky. It seems like they've got a little bit bigger of a hitbox than they should. But there's also no soundtrack. At least not that I can tell. That was a big turnoff for me. I was playing through the first few stages thinking it's kind of weird that there's just like this weird low hum that continues to go through the whole thing. And it was really disappointing when I got to the next area and I was like, okay, where's the music? There's nothing? All right.
That's really strange.
Yeah.
It's just easy to pay someone to just go,
yeah, exactly. Like
rather than like make music or something.
I assumed, budgetary reasons because I'm sure getting a good soundtrack is not cheap. But I was really disappointed by that. And then I found an item that gave me a song, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. That would be a fun new system if I could like unlock the soundtrack as I go. But it started to play the song as I was going, and it made it a lot better. But then once I died, the song stopped and I couldn't get it back. And I think that it was just sort of like a one-time deal. So, yeah.
So the soundtrack are consumable pickups.
Yeah, I guess so. They're really going strong with these new consumable routes, man. I don't know where these ideas are going to stop, but...
It's better than a gun that just says bullet all the time.
Oh, come on now. We don't
Does the soundtrack have degradation?
But yeah, I was really turned off by that, unfortunately. Really could use the soundtrack. I think that would improve it substantially. But other than that, I mean, it's $5, and it's not a bad Spelunky Light. It needs some improvement. I think if it got a little more polished as far as the actual platforming is concerned, I was a lot more comfortable with it after like 90 minutes, to the point where I felt like most of the time it was just my fault that I was fucking up. And it's a lot more fast-paced, too. It's quite a bit more fast-paced than Spelunky is. But I think it's got potential, but the lack of a soundtrack really hurts it. Like, it's definitely the biggest negative that I could tell. But, yeah, there's Meganoid.
Thank you, chat. I'm sorry, Bear.
Oh, does it suffer from the problem that sometimes imitators suffer from, where you're like, well, it's new content, but... why would I ever play this instead of the game that inspired it?
If you were to ask me, like, should I spend $20 on Spelunky or spend $5 on Meganoid? I would tell you spend $20 on Spelunky 100 out of 100 times, because
I'm asking you, is it Mad Catz? Basically, is it Mad Catz Spelunky?
Yeah, it is, and like I gotta recommend Spelunky ahead of it, absolutely, just because like it's trying to get into that genre, and it does a fairly good job, but it's not quite there yet. It's definitely not quite there yet. I like the ideas they have. I really like the systems at play here too. Like I like, for example, you collect key cards as you go, and those key cards have different purposes. So the red ones fill up your health again if you find the right machine, and then you've got blue ones that increase your permanent health, as well as the green ones, which allow you to use the hacking stations between stages to make things a little bit easier, give you like extra advantages. So it's got cool systems. Like I was encouraged by what I saw, but it definitely has things holding it back that prevent me from recommending it. It's certainly above things like Spelunky, for example. So yeah, it could use some work, but it's got that symptom, absolutely. So there's a Meganoid. It's $4.49 at the moment. Currently 10% off on Steam. Just came out this week. There you go. And Nick, you played a very interesting game that I'm probably going to play myself, actually, called Snake Pass. I want to hear more about that.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah, that game was neat.
It showed up on my radar only a few months ago. I didn't actually realize this was in development, but it was pretty close to being done. And sent off an email, got a copy of Snake Pass, which is a... sort of retro-inspired from like the N64, PS1 days of action platformers, like Banjo-Kazooie type thing.
Yeah.
It's a physics platformer puzzle game where you play as a snake, and you have a little buddy. The snake's name is Noodle, and the hummingbird's name is Doodle. So it's a danger noodle. It's cute. He's a very cute snake. And you have to basically use the way that snakes actually work, the way that they move through space, by simulating that on the analog stick. So to slither, you can't just press forward. You have to slither left and right to create that serpentine pattern that snakes actually use. So that is the basis for all of the challenges in the game. It's essentially a physics puzzle. How do you get the snake around all of these strange objects to collect all the items? And it's got really, really nice polish to it. The game looks beautiful. It's got very bright, vivid cartoon graphics. It's got a lovely soundtrack by David Wise, who you probably know from Rare. He was like the soul musician from Rare. So Donkey Kong Country and such. Soundtrack fits perfectly. It's a very chill, relaxing game. It's got 15 levels, which sounds like it's very short, but the levels get increasingly longer with each one. So by the time I got to level 6, I think it took me about 45 minutes to finish that level. And I imagine as they continue to get harder, you know, you might be looking at over an hour per level, unless you're a master at it, and I don't think you will be. And the controls being very unique, it was the thing I was the most worried about. Do they feel natural even though they feel different? And they mostly do. They feel like they make sense. It's just got a learning curve before you feel comfortable using what you need to do to get around certain obstacles. And I was still failing pretty hard even, you know, 4 hours into the game, but I could tell I was getting better little by little. And soon some of those challenges in like level 2 I was having trouble with were not so bad by level 4, and so on and so forth. So if you're a fan of a classic kind of platform puzzle games with a bit of physics thrown in, I think you could do a lot worse for $20. Snake Pass has been getting good reviews, and I would definitely recommend it myself. I'm looking forward to playing the rest of it. It's
such a nice change to see a game embrace bright, colorful color palettes.
Absolutely.
It's a beautiful game to look at. I watched that for like an hour the other night, and Ruka did too, and I was just like, man, this game is so awesome. The snake is like all happy and expressive. I mean, it's a beautiful game to watch. I like
all these stupid games like Hollow Knight are so dark and monochromatic.
You gotta get good and everything.
I said that when I was streaming. I was like, it is kind of nice to play a game that's just like unapologetically happy sometimes. Just puts you in that sort of flow state of being hypnotized happy.
Yeah. and they don't overdo like the bloom effect at all. I mean, it's a very appealing color palette to look at. It's a very, very neat game to watch.
I absolutely appreciate a new platforming system, more or less, you know, with the snake. That is a very unique idea. I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, if they pulled it off the way that Nick was saying.
And maybe there'll be DLC or like a level editor one day, because I think this game could actually work really well with a level editor, some multiplayer and leaderboards and stuff.
Yeah,
it's the kind of thing that, being a physics puzzle game, essentially, be really fun to race your friends and see who could do, climb this weird structure the fastest or something.
Maybe later you could sip your friends.
Maybe.
You could snake your friends.
Hey, you could For Honor your friends. I don't know.
I don't think that one works. That's okay though. Snake Pass.
I just heard it through the grapevine.
Yeah, there you go. I'm going to check this one out, I think. This looks really unique and interesting.
Seems like a good value. Very, very polished.
Yeah. All right, cool. Snake Pass, $20. It's available right now. And that, I believe, assuming the internet is still here, thank God. Glad y'all can still stick around with us. That is going to wander us into everybody's favorite segment. It's Ask Roundtable. The weekly segment wherein you send your questions to roundtableyt@gmail.com. We do our best to answer them. This week's question comes from Chris. I got the actually big email here. Hold on a sec. It says, what is a game you went into with no expectations and ended up loving? And then also on the flip side of that, the most disappointed in a game that you had high hopes for. Chris says for him it was Morrowind. He said he bought it knowing nothing at all, had no expectations apart from the back of the blocks, and was blown away. And then the most disappointing one he has was a game called BC. He actually wanted to know if any of you guys had heard of that. That was a game that was
PS1?
No, originally announced for the Xbox, I guess. It never actually got made. Apparently, it was one of those old prehistoric dinosaur games that was going to give you control, and of course, never actually happened, unfortunately. But
I wanted that game so bad.
Yeah. Oh man. There's our Ask Roundtable. I gave Ryan a Nick's Weird Games song request.
And already done.
Oh my God, look at you go.
Overachiever.
I've even got a karaoke track in the background here.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Oh boy.
I got Amy Castle actually to thank for that Nick's Weird Game suggestion as well. Appreciate that, Amy. But Chris has the question for us of what is the game you went into with no expectations and ended up absolutely loving? Anybody want to take the reins here?
I will, since I'm the special guest.
Yeah, dog.
I would yeah, dog. Ruka likes it too. Or says Tomo, but whatever. Isaac is the one that I went in with no expectations because I played the vanilla one that after watching Lethal Frag stream it, and I was like, I'm not really expecting much. It was like $2 the day that I bought it, and the rest is history. And on the flip side, it's definitely going to be Fable.
God.
I was following Fable for years when it was called Project Ego. We actually had a website called ProjectEgo.com that I helped curate.
Really? That's cool.
Yep. I still talk to the guy who ran it too. They were English based or UK based, and like that was the biggest letdown for me. I think an honorable mention probably goes to The Division. When it came out, I still had fun with it, but I was not nearly as enthused after starting playing it. But definitely Isaac for me on the first half of that.
Cool. Nick, what about you?
Well, I've got a negative one. I'm still thinking about the positive one.
Sure.
I'm sorry to do this to you, Bear, but it's Last Guardian. It was like the biggest
disappointment. Sorry to me, man.
For the longest time that I can think of. I think it's the one that ranks highest for me. I maintain that the core idea behind it is a good one, but it just was executed so poorly, and mostly the frame drops and the weird AI stuff. But I mean, we've been over this a ton of times, but that's the one that stuck out the most for me as a negative in recent memory.
Mm-hmm. I echo that actually. Both of you, weirdly enough, Fable and Last Guardian. Like I was on the hype train all the way for both of those, and I got crushed. That was pretty disappointing. I do want to make another honorable mention though for the Halo Master Chief Collection, which was absolutely one that I had just skyrocketed hopes for that came crashing down. That was a botched release, man. I remember that fondly, or ill-fondly, I suppose, of how much they fucked that up. It was it was completely broken on release. But
people are saying No Man's Sky. I don't think any one of us in the NLSS family cared about No Man's Sky.
We didn't have high hopes, I don't think. No,
I don't think any of us even cared about it.
I wanted the best for it, but I mean, I tempered my expectations as I recommend people do.
Yeah.
I had a prediction of a Metacritic score around 80 or 90, I think, for that one. That was as bold as I got with No Man's Sky.
Where's that sitting these days?
60s, I think.
60s? That's actually 60s. Higher than I thought.
Yeah.
They released a new content patch that supposedly adds a lot of the stuff that people were asking for, but
1.1 update is good. I still stand by that. I think they added a lot of really good stuff to it that made it a much more playable game, but it's still lacking just the draw overall for me.
I've seen it 71 actually.
Mm-hmm.
I think I might put, as much as I hate to say it, I think on the sort of a letdown. It wasn't monumental because I didn't have much expectations, but definitely I would say the first version of Elite Dangerous when it came out. I was sort of sad that there wasn't more to it because I played it in beta, so I was like, okay, this is what all of us have really wanted. But like I said, that's not even worth an honorable mention, but. If we're talking about beta, if we're going to count beta clients in there, I think that the first version of Elite Dangerous was a little bit of a letdown for me. But now, of course, it's much better.
For one that I absolutely ended up loving with no expectations, believe it or not, I had like no expectations at all for Spelunky. I just sort of happened across that when it came around on the Xbox Live Arcade. That was way back in mid-2012 when I was just sort of looking for any Xbox Live Arcade game to play on my YouTube channel, and I happened across that. I was like, oh, this looks cool. And then, 500 hours later, I am totally in love with it. So that was a fun one for me. Darkest Dungeon kind of had a similar story to it as well, where I didn't really think I was going to like it all that much, and then I kept playing more and more, and now I'm totally in love with it.
Yeah, I didn't even hear about Darkest Dungeon until Ryan covered it on one of his first look ats.
Mm-hmm. Ryan, you got any answers for this one here?
Yes. On the negative side, I'm going back to like 2002, and I think everybody I knew that had an original Xbox was super stoked for Brute Force to come out because the trailer was on the Halo disc, and it seemed like the game that Microsoft was pushing to be like, hell yeah, like this is going to be the next Halo. And the idea that you could have like 4 different kinds of characters that could all accomplish objectives in their own way was a novel idea at the time, and then it just sort of came out and was like okay, but not very good. But then I'm going even further back to like 1994 or 1995, when as a kid I didn't know anything about games. Like I didn't have like a subscription to whatever magazine, and I just bought Mega Man X from the store, and then came home and I was like, that's actually like one of the best Super Nintendo games ever made.
Yeah.
So certainly I bought a lot of games based on their box that I probably should not have purchased as a child. For example, Chester Cheetah's Wild Wild Quest, also for the Super Nintendo, where you play as Chester Cheetah and you have to get the Cheeto paws and the Cheeto bags to defeat an evil man with an enormous chin. And Mega
Not
Man
quite
X,
as memorable as Mega Man X, that one?
not quite as good, although I can still hear the music in my head to this day.
Those are good. Those are good ones. All right. Thanks, Chris, for the question. Appreciate it. That was a good one for
Thanks,
Ask
Chris.
Roundtable.
I
Yeah.
didn't do a positive one.
Oh, you want to get your positive one in? Yeah.
Yeah, well, Chad suggested a few, and I saw Loco Cycle was actually probably one that I really didn't expect to have any fun with because I thought it was just going to be awful.
Yeah,
and it was both fun and also ironically bad, but still fun.
Nice.
I remember
So,
you
like,
playing
it's good in many different directions, and I still recommend it highly, even if you just don't think it looks anything like fun.
I think
you had so much fun playing that game. It was awesome.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite streams because I
Yeah.
just had no idea where the hell that game was going. It just kept getting weirder and weirder.
Everyone was loving it.
Yeah. I think that one's going to find its way into my hands at some point. That was just too crazy not to experience at some point.
Yeah, play Loco Cycle. It's
Yeah.
real bad, but real good.
Freaking Loco Cycle, man.
Cool. Yeah, thank you very much, Chris, for the question. Appreciate that. If you got a question you'd like to send us, you can send it on over to roundtableyt@gmail.com. Thank you very much for doing so. Really appreciate all those questions. Now it's time for everybody's favorite segment out there. Favorite segment is Nick's Weird Games. Brought to you by Ryan Latorno.
Yeah, this is to the tune of U2's Where Treats Have No Name, and it's called Where the Nick Has Weird Games,
Just
as you might expect.
It's lovely.
There's a 40-measure introduction to the karaoke track. I've skipped over like 38 of those, I think, but
Appreciate that.
It might take a minute here.
Sure.
It was originally Where the Knicks Have Weird Games, but I was like, there's only one Nick. So, Kat, I need you to move because if you step on the escape key here, I'm going to make you escape from the window. All right, here we go. You guys can't hear it, but I'm excited.
That's good.
Okay, here it comes. I want to play. There we go. I want to game. I want to pick something from Nick's bookshelf without being afraid. I want to plug in and drift away where the Nick has weird games.
I can hear it in my head.
The market's a bust, and our consoles are rust. We're sick of in-game currency like credits and dust. I'll show you a world full of Japanese names where the Nick has weird games. Yeah, where the Nick has weird games.
How much did you write?
Where the Nick has weird games. They're all published by Tecmo Koei from 2003. And when they came out, they got mixed reviews. From Kotaku. The end.
God damn, dude.
All right. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Nick. We're making it increasingly hard to follow that up, but do your best, buddy. It's Nick's Weird Games time.
I feel like I'm gonna ruin the world when I run out of games.
We gotta get you
It's
some
not
more.
about the game; it'll just be the segment of Ryan sings a song.
This is a little known fact about the Roundtable Podcast, but we have had down in the description below an address for you to send or a PO box at least, right, for Nick to get some weird games from. So if you feel so inclined, feel free to send Nick over some.
If you have a
games.
rare, priceless game you want to just send away to someone
Fuck
else,
it on over there.
I'll be happy to show it on screen for less than 30 seconds.
Hell yeah.
All right, so close your chats friends.
Yep.
Today's Nick's Weird Game is a flight simulation action arcade game.
Wow.
Came out for PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, and Windows.
Is it?
I don't know why I said it like
Jaeger?
that. No, because I did that one like 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
That would be weird if I just forgot, wouldn't it? So the developer was Gaijin Entertainment on the primary consoles. Publisher was 505 Games. And it is an aircraft simulation from World War II, but with less focus on realistic simulation than the other entries in this particular series.
Did we get release year?
No, I didn't give you a year yet. Year was 2009.
Oh. A little more recent.
Yeah, pretty recent, actually. In fact, this game, I'm not even sure why I have it. It's just one of those ones that, like, I don't know, must have been on sale or something. I was like, this looks different.
Yeah. Give me the genre rundown. You got flight sim, arcade.
Yeah, they're classifying it as combat flight sim, but it's more of an arcadey combat flight sim.
Okay.
And again, set in sort of a World War II environment. Let me see stuff on the box here that might be useful. Take back the skies. Experience the rush of aerial combat as you engage in history's most iconic airborne missions. Annihilate your enemies, launch into massive dogfights, aerial bombing missions, battle for supremacy over stunning landscapes from the patchwork fields of southern England to the smoking ruins of Stalingrad. Battle hundreds of enemy aces for control of the skies in intense multiplayer dogfights and bombing sorties. 4 different multiplayer modes with up to 16 people over Xbox Live.
Has Chad gotten this one?
Death-defying missions. Somebody once told me that they did. Yes, I do see a correct answer in here.
Oh, man, okay.
I think I'm focusing too much on the publisher.
Are you?
Literally one correct answer, though, which is also pretty impressive.
That is, yeah. You thinking 505? 505 is... They're pretty broad, man. They got their hands in a lot of stuff.
I'm trying to think what games I even knew came out in 2009. The problem is I didn't own a PS3.
I think this is gonna be some real obscure shit. If only one person got it, and it's a
flight game, so like I don't think a ton of people are super into this kind of genre
but there's
anyway.
so few of them, though, aren't there? There's not
but there
that
are
many.
very few. That's true. I don't know. There's like so little else to say about it. This is probably not the best pick, honestly, because there's not a lot beyond the general stuff to give you.
If it's not Ace Combat 8, I don't know, man. I don't think I'm with you.
Not Ace Combat 8.
It's Hawken 4.
Yeah.
The cover features a sort of a gray mash bunch of clouds with a broken up biplane. It's like it's burning up, like there's the wings breaking off, and there's a bunch of other ones shooting at it. I don't know enough about planes to be able to give
Is the plane red?
No, plane's not red. Plane's like a drab kind of navy blue green kind of thing.
I got no idea.
then.
Yeah. No clue, man.
Tapping out. I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm out.
I'm seriously out.
What if I give you the last word of the thing? It's a pretty long title, actually.
Okay.
The last word is prey.
Birds of Prey.
It's got to be Birds of Prey.
Yeah.
Wings of Prey.
But you got to get the actual title because this
Is the first part of it an airplane name?
I honestly couldn't tell you.
Is
That
it
doesn't
like
help.
is it IL-2 Wings of Prey or like
Tomcat 14.
Yeah, something like that.
I mean, you're making me just say it.
Spitfire Wings of Prey or something.
It's something
All right, I think we've gone
Birds
too
of Prey
far.
or something like that, isn't it?
All right, what's the game?
The game is ILT Sturmovik Birds of Prey.
Fuck me, dude.
Okay.
Nope.
No clue.
And Wolfski was the one that nailed that one, so congrats. As you can see, this game is still shrink-wrapped. I have not opened it.
You've been hitting it hard, huh, Nick?
Buy 2 get 1 free sales do this kind of shit to me occasionally,
Yeah.
where I just buy something like, this looks different. Maybe I'll be a guy that's into flight sims now.
Yeah.
Are you?
I never opened it, so I heard it did all right, though. I had a few positive testimonials. I think when people were coming into the store, they were like, "Oh, you got to try this one. It's like it's one of the really good ones. You should give it a shot and see what you think."
Got some pretty good reviews.
Yeah, I'm seeing 80s, 79. That's pretty solid.
Yeah. All right,
So
cool.
there you go. That's Nick's Weird Game, and congrats to Wolfsky for being the only one that nailed it.
Well done.
Early on, anyway. It's not a biplane. What is that called then? Oh, biplane is the one that has the two stacked up wings.
Got two
Yeah,
wings,
that's-
yeah.
What's this one?
I was thinking of Crimson Skies for that one. I think
What's this plane?
I don't know, dude.
That's
It's just
Wait,
a
let
plane.
me,
That's an-
let me
like
see.
that's like a bulldog or a Spitfire.
That's an IL-2 Sturmovik.
There's an
Yeah, it's
IL-2
probably an IL-2
Sturmovik.
I know the
Tomcat.
classification, but fair enough.
It's a 747.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know shit about planes.
All right, that is...
Neither do any of us, apparently.
Yeah, no kidding. That is Nick's Weird Games, and that is going to do it for this episode of Roundtable Live. Pardon the technical difficulties at the beginning. I believe we ran fairly smoothly for the remainder, though. We really appreciate y'all sticking around. We appreciate Sinvicta being here in place of Mathis today as well. Sin, where can they find you?
Hey, first off, thanks for having me. You can find me over at twitch.tv/Sinvicta Wednesday through Saturday, starting at 3 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Also, on my YouTube channel, just started a Battle Brothers mini-series, which might turn into a full-fledged series if depending on fan feedback. And also, I'm currently in the middle of Season 2 of my brand new Darkest Dungeon run. You can find that over at youtube.com/Sinvicta316. And thanks for having me again. I'm looking forward to the next one.
Appreciate it, dude. Thank you. Thank you all for being here as well. Appreciate you watching. You can follow us here on Twitch if you'd like to be notified when we go live. That's twitch.tv/Roundtable Podcast. We do the show every Friday at 3 o'clock Pacific, 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. You can also follow us on Twitter at RoundtablePC if you'd like to get notifications that way. And you can get the VOD over on our YouTube channels. That's typically BaerTaffy, RockLeeSmile, and Mathis Games is where you can find those. We'd also like to thank very much our Patreon supporters over on patreon.com/roundtable. It's been seeing a huge insurgence in pledges. We really appreciate that. Thank you guys so much for all the new support and all the new pledges and all that. I want to especially thank those of you who have been at the $20 tier and above, which include Jonathan Graham, Julian Avelsgaard, Scrotty119 with a dance number. That's a new pledge. Thank you very much. Kolnar, Lord Malice, Sihoa, Jamie Tinsley, Joseph Boss, Penn Gillette, Michael Bush Larson, Talks to Wall, TJ Majesty, Chaos No Such Thing as a Fresh Meme Theorist, Colby Klein, Greenlight, Oren Saltzman, Christopher Flagg, Eric Schooley, Brizzlebrip, Positron, Myth Scarab, Mediocrities, Justin, Smurfette, and Logan Ray. Thank you all very, very, very much for continuing to support over there on patreon.com/roundtable. Really appreciate it. We'll be back next week. We'll be talking our favorite games of March as well on next week's show. Of course, continuing our Game of the Month conversations. And of course, we'll have Mathis back next week ideally as well. So we'll see you then. Thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.
Later.
Later.